It's time for TWiT, the biggest news of the decade for Microsoft. A brand new tablet, new Windows Phone. We got a lot to talk about in a great panel. This Week in Tech is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 359, recorded June 24th, 2012. Ellison's Island. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Go to Assist from Citrix. Take control of your IT world in one simple cloud-based platform. Provide live or unattended support to all your users anywhere. Sign up for your 30-day free trial today at gotoassist.com. Use the offer code TWiT. And by Stamps.com. Use Stamps.com to buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desktop. For our special offer, visit Stamps.com, click the radio microphone, and use the promo code TWiT. And by FreshBooks, the easy online invoicing app for small business that saves time and gets you paid faster. Join over 4.5 million FreshBooks users and try the service free for 30 days of unlimited use at FreshBooks.com. Tell them you heard about it on TWiT. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com, use the offer code TWiT6, and don't forget to get your free domain registration with annual plan subscriptions. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, and we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about the biggest week in the history of Microsoft ever, with our panel starting to my left, Father Robert Ballecer. We call him Friar Tech. Or Padre SJ in the chat room. It's great to have you.
Either way works. It's great to be back.
From the TechStop.net podcast, he's the Pope's IT guy. Actually, it's not true, but didn't you work to set up Skype for the Pope?
Skype and another teleconferencing system that they don't want to mention anymore.
Oh, really?
We ripped it out.
We did the same thing. I bet it was the same one. Anyway, nice to have you, Friar Tech. Good to have. And I should say, Robert is going to be the host of a brand new show on TWiT. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Also sitting to my right, it's great to have Ryan Block back. It's been a long time from Gadget. Yeah. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And congratulations. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about here. Because it was a very public...
it wasn't that public.
Okay, never mind.
Well, no, I mean, we tweeted it.
You tweeted it?
I got engaged, yeah.
You and Veronica Belmont got engaged.
Former Game On host.
It was so cute because you guys... she posted a picture, then you posted a picture. It was really sweet. This was an example of social media... and everybody, I think, who follows you probably considers you both kind of friends. Not strangers, not distant, celebrities, but actual friends.
we try to have like a very cordial conversation.
It was great. Yeah. It was really sweet. It was really neat. It thrilled me. I saw it on Instagram and then Facebook, and it was just very exciting.
I heard through the grapevine that you were planning something today.
Well, there's a priest here for a reason. I'm just saying.
I don't think Veronica's in the room. She must have ducked out.
She's running.
It's okay. I could do it over Skype.
Could you? Also with us over Skype, Larry Magid is here from CBS Radio. It's great to see you again, Larry.
Good to be here, Louis. Good to be here, Leo. Sorry I couldn't be in Petaluma today, but it's a long commute, and the Pride Parade is in San Francisco, which is very cool, but it means more traffic.
Yeah, you can't really get anywhere.
Yeah, we drove through it. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Parking lot by where we live.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up here. Thank you, Larry, for being here. It doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of Skype, really. And I love it. We just put you at the table, and we call it an avatar. You're just there on a screen.
Yeah. Do I get some free coffee from the other room like everybody else?
Yeah. No, you have to get your own. That's the difference.
Shucks. That's the
difference. You got to get your own coffee, and my dog won't lick your toes.
I got my own dog.
Okay, good. We've got the proxy.
Yeah.
So is it hyperbole of me to say the biggest week in the history of Microsoft from Microsoft's point of view? Larry, did you go down?
No, I was in Washington, D.C., but it was a big week. I mean, between tablets and phone operating systems, I don't know the biggest. Does it beat Windows 95 or Windows 3.0?
It's
Probably
pretty close
not,
to Windows 95, I would say.
It's pretty big deal. It's a big deal for them because they're betting the company on Metro. They're betting the company on their own hardware. A rumor is that they may have their own phone. That's a huge departure for Microsoft. So maybe it is the biggest week.
Isn't it a new rhyme block? You weren't there either.
I did not go, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely the biggest week I can think of since the Xbox 360 launch.
You know, I do remember when the main Xbox, the first Xbox launched. That was a pretty big deal.
That was a big one, but the
Seattle
360 I think was much bigger.
360.
Yeah.
But I have to say, this to me is huge because Microsoft's changing its business model.
Yeah.
A really good John Gruber wrote a piece about it on Daring Fireball, referring back to a guy named Dediu, and I don't from a Simco blog.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he wrote, I thought, a very intelligent piece in which he essentially said, do the numbers, and what Microsoft realized was the writing on the wall. They'd made all their money selling expensive software on commodity hardware. And really, we always, Dvorak would always joke, well, whose wallet would you rather have, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs? It's better to be in the low overhead software business because it's all profit. But all of a sudden, that seems to have changed, and Apple has proved that, in fact, there's more profit in doing inexpensive software on very expensive hardware. And Dediu's premise is Microsoft saw the curves intersecting and said, we've got to do something about this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think that they're looking at it as they're going to make money on the software. I think that they're looking at it as owning the whole banana,
right,
as we say. And a lot of this actually kind of goes back before the iPhone. As we really started to adopt mobile devices, something changed, and that was we had integrated experiences, and that means, at least in my opinion, a software stack and a hardware stack that are very closely tied together and that are not necessarily commoditized. And if they don't work well together, the whole thing falls apart. And so we started getting used to this, and then Apple raised the game with the iPhone. And then all of a sudden, it stopped being about operating system and hardware and, pick your hardware, pick your operating system. It became single great experiences that people came to expect.
Right.
And I think that that's what Microsoft really realizes. You have to, at some point, sooner or later, to match the great experiences other companies are creating, you have to own the whole banana.
Mm-hmm. Horace says that by doing a little division, Microsoft, if you include the Office licenses and the Windows licenses, makes about $78 of operating profit per PC sold. Remember, they don't make the PC, they just make the software. He says Apple, if we do a little math, makes $195 per iPad sold. And as iPads start to outsell PCs...
We're talking about Surface.
Well, yeah.
For a tablet.
Well, that's why they had to do Surface, because... They were only doing the software, and then, of course, Lenovo and Dell and HP are doing the hardware. There's not much margin in hardware in the PC world.
This is a major competitive disadvantage that they had for their hardware partners in the tablet space, because I think what I'd read, and I don't have this confirmed yet because I'm not sure if the final OEM pricing is out, but I think I'd read that they were going to charge $75 to $85 for Windows RT, which is their version of iOS.
So that would be the licensing cost to a tablet manufacturer.
Right. So if I'm Asus and I want to create a Windows-based tablet, I'm going to have to pay $75 just for the OS, which if you look at the breakdown of what goes into one of these things, $75 is enormous. That's at par, or maybe even slightly more than the incredible display on the iPad
Ryan,
3.
Isn't that a game killer for the third-party ecosystem?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's a huge competitive disadvantage to those guys because they can't compete on price with anyone else if they have to do $75 cost for the OS. So for Microsoft, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Plus the fact, I don't know how good the hardware is going to finally be when we see the actual final version of it, but I would guess that Microsoft's going to do a really good job on the Surface tablet relative to other companies that are going to create tablets using the same software. In fact, I think Google did a superb job on its phones relative to HTC and some of the other players in terms of the branding. And so I think that essentially they're going to kill the entire ecosystem, which I don't get it in that sense. I mean,
wait a minute.
I don't know about that.
I think they're going to kill. I agree that they're going to kill the ecosystem on the tablet, on Windows RT. But I think that there's still, I mean, look at Dell, Lenovo, HP. They've still got to sell Windows machines. They're going to sell Windows 8, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Or are they just going to be all Windows 7? What about, Robert, you deal with business. Business isn't moving to Windows 8.
No, it's not. But this is why you've had, in this last week, the CEO of Acer came out and essentially...
He laughed. He said, they're not going to make this.
Yeah, he said Microsoft was going to fail. And the reason he gave for them failing is they're creating two products. They're creating their own product, and they're creating the third-party market for the Surface tablet.
But you know what? They only need one to win.
They only need one to win.
And
Acer actually bet the farm against tablets. At CES this last year, they essentially surrendered the tablet market. They said
that would be another reason for Microsoft to do tablets.
Exactly.
Even at Computex, we didn't see a lot of Windows RT tablets, right? I mean, it looked like I'm going to make a prediction. I got two predictions. And I agree with you, by the way. It's not just financial. It's also because integrating hardware and software makes sense. That's Apple's big advantage, right? They give a better user experience. I think by doing what they've done, Microsoft's going to – there's two things that are going to happen. One, I don't think anybody's going to make a Windows RT tablet. I think there's all going to be Windows 8.
I don't know about that. I think you'll still see people making it. The problem is they're going to be – well, go ahead.
And there aren't going to be many apps, even though there is – in theory, you can push a button when you make a Windows 8 Metro app, and it's a Windows RT app. I think we've seen so many tablets like the Playbook, like the Zoom, like the Android tablets, just die because there weren't enough apps for those tablets. There was no ecosystem. So $75. It's an unproven system. You can make it, it's just going to be difficult. You can make an Android tablet if you really want to make a tablet, at least have a shot at it. Microsoft's, kind of in the market. So how are you going to compete against Microsoft? So I think this kills Windows RT, except for a Microsoft product, and I think they'll kill it quickly enough because it's not going to be selling very well with just them making it. I think it also means Windows 7 gets an end of life in 2025 because I don't think business wants to go to Windows 8. I think Microsoft is going to essentially cede the Windows 7 market to the Lenovo's, the Dells. They're going to make Windows 8 Pro tablets. And it's going to be a very different PC world.
So this is very doom and gloom for you. I mean, you think it's going to fail.
I think Windows RT will fail. Flop. I think Windows 7's got a long life ahead of it because business needs it and wants it. I think Windows 8 is going to take a long time for it to get any traction.
If Windows RT doesn't work out, just so we're totally clear, that is Microsoft's entire tablet strategy right now.
That's tablet.
But that is not just tablets.
Wait, what about the one that comes out next year that runs regular Windows 8 and that runs the Office full-blown apps?
I guess it's kind
that's
of
kind of too fun. That's the Windows 8 Pro tablet, right?
Yeah, it's kind of pedantic, but
it's an upside down laptop.
It's not really a tablet. It's not a tablet like this is a tablet. It's basically a slate PC. I mean, it's a full Windows PC. So I wouldn't really kind of put it on the same. I mean, it's going to cost twice as much. It's going to do different things. It's not an iPad competitor. It's something different.
I see this as driving something else. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing in the enterprise right now is BYOD. So you've got all these different vendors trying to figure out how to let the users of a network bring the device that they want to bring. And that really what that means is smartphones and tablets.
But that happened with the iPhone. It's what transformed enterprise phones.
Exactly. And
killed RIM in the process.
It killed RIM, but also what you're seeing is that's been eroding Microsoft's enterprise lead. Right. In that space. And
are they worried about the iPad becoming a dominant enterprise platform?
I think they are. And that's why you've got the Surface RT. What they want to do is they want to offer an option for enterprise people to say, if you want a tablet, we can give you one without having to bring your own device. We can give you a tablet experience that stays within this network that we've already created, that uses all the same resources that we've already bought. I see that as the real impetus and why Microsoft released what was clearly an underbaked product. No one was able to play with it.
Question. What was the hurry here? And it must have been Google I/O, right?
Yeah, definitely I/O.
Why I/O?
Well, I mean, we don't know for sure what's going to be announced, but we keep hearing about new tablet stuff, and we assume they're going to show a new version of Android.
So not only is Microsoft terrified of Apple, they're terrified of Google.
Well, as well they should be. I mean, there isn't a legitimate player in the tablet space other than Apple right now. But if there was one, it would be Google. They're at least closer than the other guys, which are essentially non-existent.
I guess what I'm saying is I can't see Windows RT competing with the iPad.
I mean, look, if you zoom way out, we're at year 3 of tablets,
right?
Basically, and it feels
Unless
like
you include Microsoft's tablet efforts since 2001,
which I don't, because again, those were PCs,
right?
And they were built as PCs,
right.
So it's a different paradigm.
Okay.
They didn't really know what to do yet. Nobody really knew what to do yet. They were dabbling. Right. We're in year 3 of tablets. I think let's zoom ahead 10 years, 15 years when tablets are, what most of us are doing most of our basic computing on and have been for quite some time. That could look totally different. I think it's hard to say way down the line.
You didn't bring a laptop. You decided to go tablet. Are you doing tablet?
I brought a laptop. I didn't bring it.
You didn't bring it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're on the iPad only.
I really don't like being iPad only. It's not for me.
No.
If I could only pick one device, it would be my laptop.
Yep.
I feel very weird about going on vacation with only an iPad. It doesn't feel right. And there's a lot of stuff I know I can't do.
It's a stretch. You have to work extra hard. You have to bring a keyboard. Mm-hmm. Just bring a laptop, for crying out loud, right?
And that's why we have
nice Airs, so.
Ultrabooks and MacBook Airs. I mean, the MacBook Air, ironically, is not that much heavier than the iPad, and comes with a full keyboard and all the software you could possibly want. And there's some Ultrabooks out there that are going to fit that bill. So I think that for those of us that are doing real work, the laptop is still the machine of choice.
So here's the question, Robert. Does Microsoft argument is, well, you're using Windows in business. You're using Exchange. You want compatibility. We're going to give you a Microsoft solution that's going to fit better into your enterprise than the iPad. Mm-hmm. But isn't that what BlackBerry said? You've got BlackBerry Enterprise Server. Isn't that what the Windows Phone 6 and 6.5 was all about? Well, it integrates better. It works with Office. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't compelling when we got to the BYOD era. People brought iPhones. So Microsoft, I think, is counting on the idea that, we'll somehow integrate better into the enterprise.
Right. And that's absolutely key. And it's something that they have proven they haven't been able to do in the
Nobody
past.
has.
They had an incredible opportunity with the release of Windows Mobile to tightly integrate it with Exchange, to make it a no-brainer to be able to use in the enterprise. And it's not there. It's actually easier to set up an Android phone on Exchange Server than it is to set up Windows Mobile. And that's ridiculous.
Your
it
contacts
isn't.
don't sync with Windows Phone.
Are you talking about Windows Mobile or Windows Phone? You're talking about Windows Phone.
Windows Phone now.
Because Windows Mobile, that was the key feature of Windows Mobile back in the day, up to 6.5, was that it had amazing Exchange integration, and that wasn't enough to save it, right? So I think Microsoft probably looked at that and said, okay, well, clearly, having a great Office enabled product and enterprise enabled product is not what's going to save us. So we have to work towards the consumer first and then back our way into that. And I think that's actually what they're doing.
So RT is a consumer product,
that's
not
actually
a
what
business product.
They didn't really talk about the business story at this launch. I mean, they really didn't. It was very, very much a consumer-focused launch. And I think that's really important. We're talking a lot about business, but I don't think that this is intended to be a business product. I think if we're talking about BYOD, they want this to be a device that consumers feel comfortable with.
That's how it becomes BYOD. That's how the Apple...
Right. Which is, frankly, that's the strategy they should be taking.
Yeah.
But I like your analysis of looking at this as year 3 of tablets, because we could actually take it back. Look, 5 years. 5 years ago, everything was netbook. We were moving to the netbook. And then people realized, well, the netbook doesn't really have everything I want. Tablets became really popular. People are now using iPads alone, and they realize it doesn't have everything I want. And so you've got, on the other side, they're bringing out Ultrabooks. And the Surface seems to be just an Ultrabook with a touch screen. So it looks as if Microsoft is betting the farm on a strategy that says people want devices that are going to be like a tablet, but will increasingly allow you to do more of the things you can expect out of a notebook. I think it might fill a very nice niche that way.
I think at least in the higher end, heavier version of the Surface, Microsoft is also betting that people want to run their Windows software. I mean, because there are certainly people who are out there who love their iPad but are frustrated because there's one or two PC or Mac programs that they simply can't run. And I do think that there is a market for that. But as is pointed out, Microsoft has more than 10 years experience coming out with tablets that are basically just little PCs. So the question is, by having the hybrid with a Metro interface and the desktop, by making it lighter, taking advantage of newer technology, can they finally crack that business market for people who want the tablet that also is a PC. They claim it's a great tablet and a great PC, but that really remains to be seen.
This rarely works. Every time you try to, balance multiple disparate needs within the electronics world, it almost never works out. I mean, Microsoft has made it work once, and I would say the Xbox 360 is a great example that they created a game console that was also an amazing living room entertainment device. But, that was something that took them years to slowly develop, and they're kind of really just now really fleshing out that side. Like they got the games down, and then they moved to the entertainment stuff over the course of 2-3 years.
I'm pointing
software
to
development.
The one example where it's worked, the multifunction device,
that's true.
The printer scanner fact, and frankly, when those first came out, there was a lot of question about. Pardon my camera here. There was a lot of questions about those too because they weren't all that good. But that's about the only thing I can think of that really does multiple things well.
And that's where Apple has succeeded so well, is with this very clear laser-like focus. This is it. Don't look for a file system. Some people said, why didn't Apple think of putting a keyboard in the smart cover? They could have.
And they might still.
Or maybe not. Maybe that's not. Maybe they're thinking.
I mean, that's and that's kind of my point. Whether or not they do or they don't, I think it comes down to if you hedge too much, everything suffers. And at the end of the day, this is really about creating a great user experience.
It's designed by committee versus vision.
Right. And so I think Microsoft actually did show some vision here. And I mean, this could go a couple ways. It could go Xbox or it could go Zune. Right? It could be the dark horse success, or it could totally belly flop.
Is it just those two? Is it very binary?
Well, I mean, those are our touchstouchstones for Microsoft hardware products. So,
but there's quite a division between the Pro and the RT. I mean,
they're two.
I think the Pro is DOA.
And by the way,
Pro is DOA, RT
really,
maybe. Yeah.
Oh, so I was the other way around. You think Pro's dead?
I think Pro not a chance.
Nobody's going to buy that.
Nobody's going to buy that.
It's a weird laptop.
Why would anybody buy that weird laptop for about $1,000 when you could go buy a MacBook Air?
Right.
I mean,
or
somebody explain that to me. It just makes no sense. Right. RT, I can see. It's going to be really hard for them, but I can actually see some people buying that and adopting it. The Pro just makes no sense. I mean, we've already seen Slate PCs do not sell. They're highly verticalized. You see them in the medical industry, and that's basically it. They don't move. Nobody cares about them. It's the worst of all worlds.
But you brought up a very important point. That's pricing. We still don't have pricing.
Right.
We are all assuming that because Microsoft said, it's going to be comparable to Ultrabooks, that we're looking at the $800 to $1,200
Let's take a break because let's talk about what we don't know. Because there's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot of missing things. I want to talk about the event. We're talking about Surface and a very big week for Microsoft. We haven't even gotten to Windows Phone 8, which they also announced this week, and we got the right guy for that with Ryan Block from Gadget, GT.com. From on the enterprise side, we've got Father Robert Ballecer. It's great. It's perfect time. And you see where Microsoft is in this weird hybrid world, right? And then Larry Magid and I also, who have to explain to consumers that there are two kinds of Windows, Windows RT and Windows 8 Pro. And how do you explain the difference, right? So we've got an interesting panel here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot more to come. But first, I want to talk about our friends at Citrix, who are making a great product. Even greater. If you've ever done support on IT or if you're software support, you know about GoToAssist. I'm sure GoToAssist is the pioneer in remote support. For 10 plus years, they've been a cloud-based solution. They are now #1 easily for supporting clients and colleagues remotely. 8 sessions at once, unattended support, the assay of all the software running in the background, including operating systems and it's just so great. But now they took something great and they made it even better by adding a monitoring module. So now GoToAssist is both remote support and monitoring, and they really go hand in hand. If you're in IT, you know how important this is. You start by putting the GoToAssist crawler on your client's network, and it goes out. It not only detects all the hardware, but all the network-attached devices and all the software. So you have a complete set of this is what's running at that place of business, your client's place of business. You then set up a customized dashboard. You can use standard dashboards or make some of your own to display stats, track, and trend key metrics like CPU, load averages, memory, and disk utilization. You can set thresholds, so if a hard drive's about to run out of space, you'll get an alert via IM, SMS, or email. So you know before there's a problem. If the toner cartridge is running low, you can fix it before the client goes, hey, The toner cartridge. That means you're proactive, not reactive. It gives you a chance to really give superb support. And that's what this is all about, is taking you and making you a support hero. If you're interested in upping your game, maybe you want to get in managed services, this is fantastic. Our IT guy, Russell, 3-person shop. He's a consulting IT guy for us, but we use him about 20 hours a week. 3-person shop, 855 individual companies he supports. How do you do it? With this. We set him up with this. He's loving it. He set us up with it now, and we can do all the remote support. I could log into the servers from home and see what's going on. It's just fantastic. I want you to try it free for 30 days. Visit gotoassist.com. There's a try it free button. You click that. It's blue now. They've changed the color. The blue try it free button. And there's a little expandable area that says promo code. If you would use TWiT as the promo code, 30 days free. You get the full range of, you check whether you want remote support or monitoring or both. And, try them both. I think you'll be really impressed. And if you already are using GoToAssist, you can take advantage of this to try the new monitoring module. GoToAssist.com. Use the offer code TWiT. I think you'll be very, very impressed. And by the way, 30 days free. You'll never be charged during your free trial. Cancel it anytime online. 24/7 support for you so you can really understand how it works. Windows or Mac or iPad. They have iPad support now. You support a Windows machine or a Mac from the iPad. I should clarify that. It's pretty amazing. GoToAssist.com. The offer code is TWiT. We thank them. Citrix has been such a great support all along for the TWiT network. So what about partners? It's kind of, this event, there was a lot of speculation. It was all over the place. One thing people really said is, wow, Microsoft can't get in the business of making PCs because what about the partners? Obviously they can.
Yes, they can.
And why?
They can do whatever they want.
How can they get away with that?
They can do whatever they want.
Can you imagine
the
calls from Acer, Lenovo, Asus, HP?
Look, I will tell you right now, if Microsoft felt like they could make more money building all their own PCs and not licensing their OS like what Apple does, if Microsoft felt like they could make a go of that, they would do it tomorrow.
Do you think they're considering it?
I don't know if Windows really needs it, but at a certain level. So this reminds me I interviewed Bill Gates a number of years ago, and one of the things that was a little more cogent then that is definitely kind of coming back now is this tension between Microsoft as a software company or as a hardware company. And I asked him, why do you do hardware? Like, what is the motivations for you? Right. And he said, we are always going to do hardware if it makes sense for the software, right? Mm-hmm. If there's a essential component to the combination of hardware and software that necessitates us to be the people to create that. And so we saw that in Zune, right? Now, Zune is obviously the wrong product, but they had to make it. Nobody else was going to make that product. And we're seeing that now here.
It's kind of an analogous situation. There was
Absolutely.
a dominant music player, the iPod. Microsoft was losing ground. They had to make something.
I mean, the problem is they made the wrong product, right? They were fighting the last war instead of fighting the next war. But, it also reminds me of the quote from Alan Kay that if you're very serious about software, you should make your own hardware. And, I don't know if Microsoft will ever start making their own PCs. It wouldn't actually surprise me too much if one day they did that, because if you've ever walked into a Microsoft store or know much about how Microsoft stores work, they have a Windows Premium experience, which is basically...
They call it the Signature.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Signature. Thank you. Where that's basically PCs that don't have crapware on it.
And nobody made one except Vizio just made one. Yeah. But nobody's made any.
Exactly. If you make a PC without putting crapware on it, they will just shower you with affection, and they'll put you all over the Microsoft store, and they will sell the hell out of your product.
Go to signature.microsoft.com and see who's taken them up on that.
So that to me is they actually do care about the pure Windows experience.
They want this.
Yes, but I don't think that they're on the PC side yet.
Look, Apple's secret sauce all along with the Mac was that they owned the hardware and the software. I remember having also an interview with Bill Gates a number of years ago, and when I talked to him about all the problems with PCs compared to Macs with drivers and all the third-party issues, all he said was, hey, Steve Jobs, or maybe at that point it wasn't Steve Jobs, owns the hardware, owns the software, and has a strategic advantage. So Microsoft has always been well aware of that. They made a bet early on having this OEM strategy, and I can't imagine they're going to abandon that with PCs. It would put some companies out of business. But I do think that going forward, they may be very smart to at least have some products like the tablets that they control all aspects of.
Yeah, I'm right with you. They haven't said that they're going to make their own PC. Yeah, you could call the Pro a PC.
That Pro is a PC.
It's a PC, but I mean, you're not going to replace a desktop or a laptop.
There's still room for a tower. There's still room for a real laptop.
So they could tell their partners, look, you can still make all the towers and laptops that you want, but you've proven that you can't make a tablet that competes.
You have good contacts with the OEMs. Aren't they going to start pounding the door and saying to Microsoft, keep making, we want to be able to sell Windows 7 for at least 2 more years?
Oh, absolutely.
Aren't they going to say, this is our niche. We'll take Windows 7. You go ahead with this RT strategy.
The OEMs will absolutely be saying that. They're going to demand that, look.
You owe us something now, Microsoft.
Precisely. We want to sell what the consumer wants, and we're seeing more and more the consumer doesn't want 8. On the other side, however, what Microsoft can do, if they can pull off making RT and Pro a success, which is a big if, but if they can, that would actually drive 8 into the laptop and desktop space.
It seems to me that the partners don't have a lot of leverage here, though. I mean,
no. What are they going to do? They're going to make a
where
Linux
else are you going to go?
Android is about the only choice, right?
No, I'm saying on the desktop.
Yeah,
like
Android.
Computer partners.
Yeah, Android.
On the desktop. Android on the desktop.
Well, it's Linux, Android, or if Apple's decided to license.
There's nothing. They have
BOS,
nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. You're right.
That's, I mean, people worried about the partner situation and like can't believe that Microsoft is doing this, and there's like a lot of dropped jaws right now. I mean, it cracks me up because what are they going to do? Microsoft can do whatever it wants, and it's in a great position. And I think it's great that they are not compromising to partners when they have the opportunity to create a product that they perceive is a better user experience. I mean, ultimately, that's at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is about creating better products.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Does all this benefit Apple? I mean, they did this to compete with Apple. Could they actually be increasing Apple's market share by creating confusion in the marketplace?
I don't know how much confusion there really is, just because people who are going to use Windows 7 or Windows 8 are always going to use Windows 7 or Windows 8. Enterprise is still going to use Windows, and that's their biggest customer right now. So I only see this as a plus for Microsoft. Even if the tablets fail horribly, they've proven one thing, and that is that they can create a message. They can create a vision, which has been absolutely lacking for the last couple of years. I mean, it's been going.
No, they got their mojo back. They got their mojo
this
back.
time. Yes, with this, they got their mojo back.
But for as great as Surface is looking, at least the RT side, in my opinion, I mean, they totally blew the marketing side, which is the product's name is Microsoft Surface for Windows RT. I mean, what the hell is wrong with them? They actually went to all the trouble to create this really beautiful tablet, and then they name it that? I mean, that is actually...
I think Surface is an okay tablet name. It's
unfortunately, it's a fine tablet.
It suffers with association to that big-ass table 5 years ago.
I mean, I don't know if that really matters. I think only geeks kind of
Only geeks.
I mean,
I agree with you. And I think it's a wonderful name for a tablet. That has a nice feeling. But they have this Windows RT, Windows 8. What are they?
Yeah, all they had to do is they call the iPad competitor the Surface. And they call, if they have to do this stupid half-baked tablet PC, Slate PC thing, just call that the Windows Slate PC Pro, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Doesn't matter, because that's it's specifically aimed at the Pro market. But just call it the Surface. I mean,
Sybil says the resurface. They call it the resurface.
Yeah, if there's confusion, I think it's because they clearly do not know how to position this, and nobody knows what Windows RT is.
No, I agree.
Nobody's heard of that.
But it's a terrible name, and those who have are confusing it with WinRT, which is the real-time kernel in Windows 8.
The runtime.
But so Microsoft has always, even on the software side, I remember Steve Jobs making fun of Microsoft one year when he introduced a new Mac OS, and he said, it comes he talked about the Pro version, the consumer version, and of course they were all the same price, they were all the same product. Compared to Microsoft, sometimes they'll have 4 or 5 different versions of Windows, all theoretically aimed at different audiences, all with different prices, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. And Apple has really thrived on just keeping it very, very simple. Whether you're working in a corporation or at home, you have the same Mac OS.
I wish, but this is pure blue sky, that there were some other operating system out there. Why isn't there?
Other than Android.
Yeah. I mean, there's Linux. Android's a version of Linux. There's Linux, there's Windows, there's Mac. That's it.
Oh, you're talking about on the desktop.
Yeah, like why isn't there somebody like Jean-Louis Gasset with BOS? Why isn't there somebody developing the next great operating system? There'd be a huge opportunity here to go to the OEMs and say, hey, we got something for you. Maybe make it compatible so it runs Windows.
Couldn't work.
No? It's too late?
You need a patent portfolio to defend yourself if
right.
you're going to create a new operating system.
You're right. That's exactly right.
You just
can't
get
do
sued
it.
out of existence.
It's software patents that kill them.
One thing is for sure, though, with cloud computing, the fact that whatever this new operating system is would not run thousands of programs is less important today than it was 5 or 10 years ago. I mean, I am amazed how few programs I use. The only program, I just recently got a new MacBook Air. The only program I actually had to load in from a disk, and it wasn't even a disk, was Microsoft Office. Everything else I downloaded, and as far as I can recall, they were all free. I don't remember paying for anything other than Office to fully equip my machine, because 90% of what I do in a browser anyway, which of course is Google's strategy. So I think it actually could be possible. And
maybe Chrome OS is Chrome OS they're going to use?
No way. I don't see that one. You know, that may be true, but I think part of the issue is there's a consumer perception now that you have to have a great app ecosystem. And I think people know which platforms have the best app ecosystems and which don't. And whether or not you're like really into apps, it almost doesn't even matter.
I agree with you, and that is going to be the crux for Windows RT. It's got to have apps. It means that Windows 8 developers have to push that button in Studio and say, make a Metro app, and they have to sell it in the Microsoft Store. Will that happen?
It's more than that, right? It's not just build for ARM processor and then it runs.
Well, you
on
can
Windows
actually.
RT.
You can do that if you make a Metro app on Windows 8.
Right.
So that's the question: are developers going to develop for Windows RT? Are you going to see an app ecosystem? Because if not, it's dead, right?
Are developers developing for Windows?
Windows RT.
No. Are they developing for Windows?
Are they making Metro
right now?
apps? Actually, the real question is, are they? Yes, but are they making Metro apps? No.
Not yet.
Well,
not yet.
The irony is that tablets require an app ecosystem more than laptops and desktops do today.
Absolutely.
I mean, there isn't a huge demand for desktop software, but there's an enormous demand for apps, which is
because they're cheap. That's again this thing. This cheap software are free on expensive hardware. That's the Apple model, and Apple owns it. That's my question: is how can you succeed? Yeah, you've got Windows developers, but you've got to convince these Windows developers to make tablet apps.
I mean, right now, if you are a developer of any kind, you're going to be chasing the money, and the opportunity for software has completely unlocked in the last couple of years. Right. And I think a lot of that's due to Apple's strategy. They've kind of reinvented software, at least in the consumer market. And so if you're a developer out there, it's a huge opportunity for you to go to Android, iOS especially. And, most of the big apps are launching iOS first now. I don't really see what the motivation is to start on Windows.
And we've been burnt already. Maybe we made some Palm Pre software.
Right.
We made some WebOS software.
Exactly.
Oh, that didn't work. Maybe we made something, for the BlackBerry. Oh, that didn't work.
There's something we're leaving out, and that is, yes, tablets have really driven an app mentality, but there's something that's beyond that, and that's Internet as a service. And we're seeing that from more and more carriers actually providing the heavy lifting remotely. And tablets are a perfect portal into tapping into that. Now, if you start looking at Internet as a service as the next generation of applications, then no one really has a strong hold on that. Maybe Amazon, but definitely not Apple. Apple's done horribly with Internet as a service.
What do you mean when you say Internet as a service?
So not just cloud storage,
from
but
software
cloud
as a
services.
iCloud sucks.
iCloud sucks. But I mean, in the enterprise, you actually start looking at hosting the services that you would normally require within the network remotely, getting it out of your colo, getting it out of your data closet, and that, at least in the enterprise, that we're moving more and more to that. Some of the services that you never thought enterprises would be willing to part with, they're now fine with sourcing to a center they have no idea where it is.
That's the big rumor, of course, that at Google I/O, Google will announce its EC3, its cloud platform, as Amazon has. Microsoft has one, Azure. Is that where the battleground is?
It could be. And why develop an OS if all the heavy lifting is going to be done remotely?
Right. You're saying this becomes a thin client.
Right. We're back to like the 1980s with the thin clients.
Oh, that's depressing.
Actually, we're back to the 1970s.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The remote terminals in many ways. I really feel like the whole thing is back to the future.
What do we not know about Surface and why? We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know what the resolution is. We don't know when it's available. We don't know what the battery life is. Well, and they wouldn't let anybody touch it.
We have some kind of rough numbers on some of these.
It's 1080 on the P on the
So we know it's going to be
Windows 8 Pro.
available around the launch of Windows 8, which we know is going to be available later this year. They said that they're going to have it priced competitively with other products similar to it. So, we're expecting a iPad-esque, $500 price point, maybe a
Can
little
they do
more,
that?
maybe
Do
a
you
little
think
less.
your sources tell you the supply chain can make such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, some of those parts might not be as great as what you have in the iPad, but they're Microsoft. They can throw money at this problem.
Yeah.
If anyone can throw money at this problem, they can, because they're not in the razor thin margin business that all their hardware partners are.
Right.
So this is part of the problem. Is did you read the piece about that Chris Ziegler wrote about Palm and kind of how they went from being Palm to being dead in like 30 months or so? One of the interesting things that was brought up in that piece was they were basically picking up after Apple scraps in the components market. So Apple would go out, they would find and identify like the best product and say, oh, we really love this Sony camera sensor.
Right.
And they go buy basically every single one that was produced.
Right.
And then every other company who wanted to use a sensor in their tablet, that sensor in their tablet was unable to, so they have to go find some other crappier part to use. And Microsoft...
Well, you really could see that with the Pre. It broke at the drop. You'd look at it, it would break. I mean, the thing was terrible.
Microsoft has enough money to actually throw money at this problem.
Right.
So
they could
maybe.
They could do the same thing Apple does.
We don't know though. We don't know how good the hardware is going to be. It'll probably be good enough, but we don't know what the price is going to be.
And there's a great article, Danny Sullivan, who was one of the people who was down there. And I know when we had Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley on Windows Weekly, they weren't there, but they also complained that so many of these gadget blogs, I'm sure Gadget didn't do this, but The Verge
Well, I didn't go. I opted not to go,
did.
yeah.
They all said, hands-on, first hands-on. And that really was a little bit of a stretch. For instance, Danny said, I was able to hold one, and then I thought, what if I press and hold the desktop? Will I be able to see what the resolution is? And they grabbed it from him as he started to do that. And then he tried it again, and they said, nice try, and they grabbed it again. You could type on the keyboard, but not if it was attached. And yet we've seen Windows 8 running on tablets. The Samsung, it runs okay. There's some crashes, but it's pretty good. Why the secrecy?
That means it's not ready.
It's just not done.
They can do three things. I see three things done at these product demos. Apple does two things. They either let you play with the product, and then when they do, they let you just go to town on it.
Even when the iPad was announced, 3 months before it was shipped, the first iPad, there was a hands-on room.
Yep.
So
and I was there.
I was the last time I was ever at an Apple event, and you could touch it, and you could use it.
Yep. So they either do that, or they put it in a case, and no one's allowed to touch with it.
But most of the time, Apple actually ships products the day they announce them. Or certainly a few days after.
And especially when they do that, they let everybody play with it.
Yeah, but the iPad one, that was
your third option. Your third option is this thing, which Palm has done and a number of companies have done, which is they bring out half-baked software. They want to come off as though it's ready to go, and that we're really excited about this thing. And it's just not there. And so instead of putting it in a case and making it seem like it's not ready to go, they give you the illusion that you can actually play with it and that it's ready to go.
Classic example is the BlackBerry Playbook at CES 2011, where they had a video on the screen that looked like it was doing something. They wouldn't let anybody hold it, but they say, look, see? And it turned out it was a QuickTime movie running of the OS. That's how far away from done it was.
Palm did this on a number of occasions. Palm did this at the touchpad launch, where you could go up and you could play with it. They wouldn't actually let you hold the device, but you could put your finger on it, and you could just go through like a very simple flow of like open a calendar app, but not actually do anything with it. So I mean, you could have been basically opening a static image.
Was it a mistake to have this announcement then when they did, if it's really that far? I mean, aren't they expecting people like you to say, well, it's obviously not done?
It's hard to say. I think that it's good that people have it on their radar. I don't think that they had to do it because whatever Google announces at I/O is, there's going to be a product roadmap lag there where it's going to take many months for all of their hardware partners to start adopting the newest version of the tablet stuff that they're going to announce. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they felt like they had their back against the wall. Maybe they felt like it had been, 3 years and it was time to make the announcement. Maybe they wanted to soften the blow to the partners. Who knows?
And what's with announcing the press conference 4 days ahead of time and not telling people where it is until 10 o'clock that morning? I mean, I have never seen anything like that before from any company where you literally don't know where you're going until you land at LAX.
Well, do you think it was a ham-handed attempt to create Apple-like excitement around this event?
And they did much better than Microsoft normally does with these events. Even with all the things that were lacking, it's still much better than what I expect from a Microsoft press release.
And yet they still trotted out Ballmer.
And yet, I know. Well, I guess they have to.
It wasn't Ballmer.
They really
Ballmer looked good compared to Steven Sinofsky. If you've watched the video, which I have, Sinofsky was nervous. That crashed on him, which completely threw him.
Yeah.
He misspoke a couple of times. Now I don't know if that's I don't know Sinofsky. Maybe he's not good in front of crowds. I think he's not. But Ballmer at least had some presence. Yeah. Nothing crashed.
That's one word for what Ballmer has.
At some point in the next month or two, we're going to hear something will leak out, and we'll know what they were trying to preempt, or we're going to find out what it is that they were afraid of and why they pushed when this wasn't obviously not ready to go. But on the plus side, good things have happened for Microsoft. They have created a buzz about this product.
Absolutely.
And like as you mentioned, they got their mojo back on the campus in Redmond. So these are all good things.
If there is one reason to do it, it's because you want people to write software for it when it launches.
Good point.
That's the reason why Apple, despite its normal, incredibly secret way of doing business, they announced their OSs way early. They announced iOS 6 and everything in iOS 6, and they put a beta in developers' hands months in advance before launch every single year. It's because they want apps to run that thing when it launches to the public. So
ironically,
if there's any reason to do it, it's that.
There's still that lag. For some reason, this Retina display, developers have known this was coming, and there's still a handful of Retina apps, and they're all from Apple.
Yeah, and I mean, with the Surface for Windows RT, if I got that right. It's not like they introduced specific details or APIs or anything to take advantage of that.
No, but they got
device.
buzz, and that's what they want to do. They did,
but if I'm a developer and I want to go out there and I want to build Metro apps for this product, I can't do it right now, and that's a big difference between them and Apple. If I'm a developer and I'm really stoked about what I just saw in iOS 6, I can that day register for an account, start building my iOS 6 app.
Well, I'm not sure. I think you can start writing Metro apps for Windows 8 now.
Right, but what I'm saying is you can't target that hardware.
Right.
Yeah, well, you don't know what the resolution is.
There's no other Windows RT products out there, so I can't target the Surface if I want to build something for that.
Yeah, you'd need at least screen resolution.
You at least need the resolution.
You need just some basic information. Yeah. So that was kind of a...
Well, I think we all are in agreement. A couple of things. First of all, every tech pundit wants Microsoft to succeed because it's just much more interesting to cover a market where it's vibrant and there's competitors and there's something interesting. Yeah. I think that everybody also is kind of rooting for Microsoft because it's been a kind of dull company. For a long time, I think I'm not alone. I think a lot of people thought Steve Ballmer was running the company to the ground. So to see Ballmer come out and introduce something new and exciting and potentially great, we don't know because we can't touch it, is I think, basically good.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's no real
commend them
downside
for their vision and taking a chance. No question, they're taking a huge chance, right?
They have the pockets.
Huge.
They have the deep pockets.
Yeah.
I mean that's why they did Xbox. If I remember correctly, is because Bill Gates said to his executive team, "Look, we've got almost infinite amount of money. Let's make a big bet on something. Like there are very few companies who can throw $5 billion at a problem. So let's go make a big bet." And Jay Aller said, "Okay, video game market. Let's create a video game console."
At a CES keynote, Ballmer talked about betting the company. He literally used the word betting the company. He was talking about Metro. And I'm not sure they're really betting the company on Metro, but I think that Ballmer
they're hedging on Metro.
Yeah, they're hedging on Metro, but he's taking huge bets right now, and I think he really has to. Because Microsoft, as you said, it's lost its mojo. I remember at All Things Digital, I think it was a year ago, Eric Schmidt talked about the great PC companies or the great companies. And let me see if I can get them all right. He mentioned, of course, Google, Amazon, Apple. I can't remember what the fourth one was. Microsoft wasn't one of them.
Yeah, nope.
And that was actually a fairly accurate portrayal of where they fit in the industry. And they've got to do something bold. And
are they now?
I give them credit.
One of the five?
Oh, they're probably number 5, but they're just not
inching
way up
inching
there.
into the top 5.
I think he put eBay up there with Amazon and Apple.
What was it? Wasn't eBay, was it? It was Amazon, Google, Apple,
Oracle.
No. Chat room will tell us. No, you don't have to look it up. That's what
we got this memory.
We've got the amazing Facebook.
Facebook, of course. Facebook, absolutely.
And I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Although there's reason to think Facebook might be in trouble. We'll talk about that. I do want to talk about Windows Phone 8. There's some consternation there. Oh, yeah, that. What a week for Microsoft and for us. We've got a great panel. Father Robert Ballecer, Future Hope is right, of This Week in Enterprise Tech, which debuts July 20 or something.
So. Yeah.
Couple of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Can't wait. What's your first show on?
First show is all about deployment of wireless, the proper deployment of wireless. So how you have to actually survey the site that you're going to be deploying your wireless in. That will determine how many APs you need, how they have to be tuned, what channels have to be allocated. It's something that a lot of people take for granted when you deploy wireless.
It's a black art. Yeah.
It's a black art. Yeah, you just throw APs up, and anytime someone does it,
I'm totally going to watch that show. Yeah.
There's actually going to be an engineer from Xeris who will be going around with a spectrum analyzer.
We're going to measure it here.
We'll measure everything in the studio and determine exactly where the array should be put, and then tune the radios, because sometimes you get better results when you bring down the power. As opposed to most manufacturers which just want to jack everything up.
It's going to be a great show because it's going to be very case study focused. It's going to be how you solve problems. And one of our concerns with an enterprise show is it would just be about enterprise technology, and normal users wouldn't want to watch it. But you're going to make this accessible for everybody, and everybody will be learning. We're all going to learn how, to make your Wi-Fi sing.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun. That's later this month, or next month, I should say, on the TWiT network. Also from GDGT. The great Ryan Block. I see Veronica. Hi, Veronica. Congratulations. Now that everybody's looking over there.
You've got the PTZ.
I do. I can aim the camera. Oh, Veronica didn't know about this when she showed up. Okay, I've gone back. Go back this way. She's kind of in the dark. There it is. Now, wait a minute. This has 19x zoom. I'm still learning how to use this. We got this for another new show we're going to launch called Know How with IAS. And, geez, what's wrong with the focus? Yeah! What, isn't it? Shouldn't it be focusing? Oh, yeah, when I press the autofocus. There we go. There's her top of her head.
She's wearing a lamp.
Show us the ring. Show us the ring. Ooh. Good man, Ryan Block. Good man. Did she design that? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Oh.
Before a studio audience of thousands.
Did she?
No.
Was it a complete surprise?
Yes, it was.
Smart boy. He knew she was a keeper. I don't know about Veronica's judgment.
I'm shocked that she said yes.
No, you're not. It was so cute, the picture, and she said, I said yes. It was so cute. I loved it. Also with us, Larry Magid, who is in his lair somewhere in San Francisco from CBS
Palo
Radio.
Alto.
You're in Palo Alto. No wonder you didn't want to come all the way up here. I understand
But I love coming up there. Yeah, I'm down in Palo Alto. Beautiful day.
Back. We'll get you back.
I'll bring my dog on the next segment, maybe. That's
we got Ozzy here.
One perk.
Anything you want to plug, Larry, or anything?
Well, I go to larrysworld.com and safekids.com. A lot of stuff this week about internet safety, or last week with that Scout fiasco where bad things happen to teens, and then a lot on there about under 13s on Facebook, why I think kids will be safer on Facebook if they allow under 13s on there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Larry's World, and also safekids.com.
That's very interesting. I want to hear I want to hear your rationale for that, but not right now. We're going to take a break. But when we come later in the show, I'd like to know, why would kids be safer on Facebook than not? Because right now, technically, if you're under 13, you're not allowed to be on there.
That's
Facebook.
Right.
I'll show an infographic, too, that Facebook released on what happens when you complain about a post on Facebook. Crazy. But first, let's talk about Stamps.com. Now, this is crazy like a fox. If you don't want to go to the post office and wait in line to buy stamps, if you don't want to go to the post office for any package over the 13 ounces, if you want to save money and get your mailing done, if you want to bring the post office to you, then you want Stamps.com. It is such a great service. I hope you've tried it by now, but if not, I've got a special offer for you. Stamps.com. The deal is you print real U.S. postage the instant you need it, right from your computer and your printer. You don't need a postage meter. I don't know what Pitney Bowes is going to do. You don't need special ink. You got what you already have. Works. Mac or PC. You can print it right on the letter. For business, it's very professional looking. You can buy, sticky stamps if you want to have sticky stamps. You can. It'll even fill out the forms for you if you're doing international mail. You don't have to go to the post office. It was always a problem when I wanted to mail something internationally. When Abby was in France, what a pain. But no, Stamps.com does it all for you, and then the mail carrier comes and gets it. You literally do not have to get up from your desk. He will walk over to you, or she, and take it from you. Stamps.com. If you're a heavy mailer, you can even do it completely free. If you're an Amazon or eBay seller, they take the fields right out of the website, so you don't have to do any typing. You got to try this. So here's the deal. You go to Stamps.com, you click the radio microphone at the see right there. Don't do the special $80. No, click that radio microphone. This is clever. And then use the offer code TWiT. And then the $80 offer turns into a $110 offer, including the USB scale. You pay shipping and handling for that. It's about $5. $55 in postage coupons. You get to keep the scale forever, by the way. You get a supplies kit and a 4-week trial of Stamps.com. So this is a great deal. And you'll see what Stamps.com can do for you. So give it a try today. $110 no-risk trial offer. Stamps.com. Somebody said it's not for normal people. Of course it's for normal. I'm normal. It's great for small businesses. Great for small businesses, I got to say. And yes, they are using the picture of me from 1946, before the war. I think that's on the screensaver set. I don't know where they even got that. I think they chose it because the green in my shirt matches the... that's ridiculous.
It's accurate.
Looking good.
Side by side. Oh, now Ryan, Keyrock in the chat room has said that when you and Veronica start your new show, it should be called GDzilla.
I don't get it. Yeah. Oh, like Gadget and Techzilla mixed together should be, or could be Tech G.
Godzilla.
Godzilla. You guys ever want to do a show together?
We've talked about doing a show together.
God, Veronica's got like 80. She's laughing.
She has so many shows.
She does. I was going to say she's very busy.
She couldn't fit me in.
We'll give you a plug, Sword and Laser with Tom Merritt. Fantastic. She interviewed George R.R. Martin. Oh, my God. The guy who wrote, the Kingslayer stuff. The Game of Vice and Thrones. Was he cool? He had the hat and everything? The little sailor hat? Wow. Yeah, he wears the big suspenders. He's quite the interesting looking fellow. Well, you got to find that on the Geek and Sundry channel at YouTube. Or go to swordandlaser.com. Next time you got to be on the show if you want to do the plugs. Okay, I'm just saying.
Hey, while we're plugging
we
stuff.
got the tight shot, though. We got the tight shot. There she is. Look at that on the point and the pan tilt zoom. Lean to your left. There you go. No, she's hiding behind the twit pillow. This is our new camera. This is so fun to play with.
Back there.
Leo, while we're plugging stuff, we have a huge event in New York on Monday.
How exciting.
Everyone's invited. Come out.
Where?
In New York, it's at the Altman building.
But if you go to gdgt.com...
Yeah, it's on the top of the page. Go to Gadget. It's we have a big promo up there.
These events are great. If you've not been to a Gadget event, go, because you have... How many vendors will be at this event?
Dozens.
Yeah.
A lot of companies.
So there's a chance, if you want to see the Galaxy S3, for instance, before you buy it, you want to touch it and feel it and handle it, which I recommend.
And there's, a lot of companies are not like Apple, where you can actually talk to them about what they're doing and how they do it, and they love to tell you. They like to tell their story. Yeah,
I think these are great events. You've done them before in New York. You've had them in San Francisco. I see you got Seattle, Boston, and San Francisco.
Yeah, actually, if you scroll down the page a little bit, you can see some of the companies we have there. They're all amazing companies. It's not, not a lot of companies you've never heard of before.
Logitech, Nokia, OtterBox. I love OtterBox's cases. Sharp. So you got TVs. Spec, by the way, has a case for the Note. I was very happy to see the Galaxy Note.
Yeah, they do. We give away free cases.
Oh, yeah, the GT cases. I still have mine. I love that.
So we'll give away
What's Twonky?
Cases.
They make a plug-in, right?
It's
media streaming.
It's media service? Twonky.
You can install it on your Ready NAS, the Netgear NAS box, and you can stream media, transcode media directly into your Xbox.
Cobra's going to be there. Cobra has that great thing so you never lose your keys. I love that.
Right.
Or your phone. If you leave your keys there, your phone beeps. If you leave your phone there, the keys beep. Ford Sync.
Yeah, we've got a car. That's a first for us. We're actually bringing a car in.
Connects.
They make what?
Yeah, adapters for your MacBook, display ports.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know we're going to talk about Windows Phone 8. SugarSync, TiVo. Look at this. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a big event for us. You want to be there.
Buffalo
will have some of the
I've been
new
playing with the AC,
routers.
that 802.11 AC. What do you think of that, Robert? Speaking of Wi-Fi.
It's definitely an improvement over the previous version, but it's all draft, and I kind of back off as long as it's still draft.
Yeah.
Is Drobo going to show that new SSD?
They are. They're going to have the new ones there. They're going to have the 5D and the Mini.
5D is it's a Drobo enclosure for 5 SSDs with Thunderbolt. That thing has to be so fast.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Can't afford.
Put it on your want list.
Can't afford. Gazelle will be there, one of our sponsors, as well as Ford. We love Gazelle. Good. Gazelle's great. Olympus, they're doing some, they just did an OMD camera that is kind of a tribute to their OM1.
Yes.
I was an OM1 lover, the old film camera, classic. And the D is great. It feels like an OM1.
And it also, you get that 80s throwback, orchestral maneuvers in the dark.
I love the throwbacks. Roku. Are they going to show the Roku? I'm sorry, I can't help it. Are they going to show the Roku stick?
I don't know 100% of what everybody's showing, but I think that they should have that there. Yeah.
So this is a new HDMI. This is looks like a USB key, but it's HDMI. If you have an AV receiver, which I do, with this special HDMI port, it's called an MHL port. You plug it into there. It's powered HDMI. Now that's a Roku box in a thumb drive, basically.
Right.
I can't wait.
I love my Roku. I watch you on Roku, Leo.
It's great.
I just love it. Yeah, it's amazing.
It sounds like MHL is finally starting to get a little bit of a footing.
The new Onkyo AV receiver I bought has an MHL port on the front. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with that? What else could I do?
Your phone.
Oh, yeah, because there's a special adapter, HDMI out. It's USB 6 to H.
It actually looks just like a standard USB adapter because MHL will transit over a USB cable. So you plug it into the USB MHL port on your receiver or your adapter or your TV, and it charges and connects at the same time.
Oh. Yeah, I also have an iPod connector on that. Or an iPhone. I haven't ever used those things. Sometimes there's too much stuff to use it all.
Way too much.
What do you carry for a phone now?
4S still.
4S.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to I/O because they usually give out new gear, and I'm really hoping for a phone this year because I haven't really played with Android as a daily phone for a very long time, and I'm actually very curious to kind of get back into it.
4S is still the
while.
Gold standard. There's no question the iPhone's the gold standard. But
that screen is so small, and
this is 4.8 inches. It's 1280 by 720. I'm talking about the Galaxy S3. It's kind of, and look how good. It's mind-blowing. The color, the richness, the density. What do you use, Larry?
I'm still using the iPhone 4S. Where is it? There it is.
And what about you, Robert? Are you an iPhone guy? You can't be you must be a BlackBerry guy.
No, I am using the Samsung Galaxy S2.
S2. Also very nice.
Although I broke it, and so I had to go back to a 4S for a while, and I realized how much I missed the screen.
That Retina and the camera. All right, we got to talk about Windows Phone, and then I want to talk about the Retina, because I am in love with my new laptop, and everybody's bashing it.
Oh, you bought the new one?
I did.
Got the new one.
I'm a sucker. I bought it before I heard all the things like it's not repairable. It's but you know what? I actually am physically in love with it.
Well, I went to the
store. I'm sorry, Kat. Kat the knitter from Let's Knit Together just hit her face. She's embarrassed, and I'm sorry.
So I went to the Apple store the day after the announcement. I looked at the Retina display, and I loved it. And then I decided to buy a 13-inch MacBook Air because I travel a lot, and I want something as light as possible. And last year, I carried around an 11-inch. So even the 13-inch is a half a pound heavier than I'm used to. But it was a 4.5 pounds, and Leo, the extra $1,000 for the Retina display was a little bit of a dent for my wallet.
I completely understand the price. I mean, that's crazy, and the company paid for it.
And weight. Yeah.
Weight is not a problem for me. And I'm a big MacBook Air fan. I have my 13-inch Air. I got a late model Air, and I love it. But this is so thin, and it's what really happens is you kind of fall into the screen, and then everything else looks like crap. That's really so. Don't ever buy it, ever until you're ready. But because once you go Retina, you never go back. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's just stunning. And I had to download all new wallpaper, change all my apps. But boy, I'll tell you why it's different. You were talking about how the iPhone 4 great Retina display, and the iPad Retina display, but they're smaller. When you get a Retina display at 15 inches, there's something that happens. It really does change things, and I cannot wait to see 4K TVs for that reason.
You know, I'm trying to... The price is a big thing about this, and I'm trying to find what the original titanium PowerBook debuted at.
Yeah, it was more than that. $21.99 is not horrible.
But I don't remember what that price was.
And by the way, $21.99 you get 8 gigs of RAM, which is more than I didn't need 16 gigs of RAM. And you get a 256 gig hard drive, and people say, oh, how do you live with 256 gigs? How many gigs did the original titanium have? Come on. I remember when I'm an old
You have to add Apple Care, though.
I bought Apple Care because I can't fix anything.
Oh, come on, Leo. I remember when Toshiba laptops were $8,000.
Yeah.
I mean, and those were in 1980-something dollars. So we've just come, there's a new economy. We're just more accustomed to more affordable computers. And by most standards, even the MacBook Air is expensive. But people are willing to pay for Apple products, and at least some people are willing to pay that extra $1,000 for that very cool display. I agree with you. It looked great. One of the reasons I didn't buy it, because I knew once I owned it, I would never return it. I'd have to hold on to it forever. And I'm just not ready to treat myself quite that well. But again, the extra £1.50 over the Air, for me, makes a difference, because I go to trade shows and I carry this thing on my back sometimes for 8 hours in a day. And,
also no Ethernet port.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Is that an issue?
Well, they sell a $30 Thunderbolt Ethernet gigabit adapter.
Yeah, I have it. But
it will be an issue for
business.
Not business.
And government.
For IT people who use it for diagnostics.
But a lot of businesses don't have Wi-Fi, right?
Right. But the Thunderbolt adapter actually doesn't let you do some of the diagnostics that you would use with a standard Ethernet adapter. It's not the same. I see. Right. So you lose a little bit of the traffic if you're trying to say tap the traffic on a network.
But as a consumer,
you can always go buy a regular 15-inch.
That's true.
As a consumer, I have the Ethernet adapter. I think I've used it once in the year and a half that I've had it. I can't remember the last time I've been to a hotel that didn't have Wi-Fi. Right. Of course, I have it at home.
That's why I didn't mind it, because I have the adapter on my Air, and I rarely pull it out. So that's exactly why I wasn't worried about it. Optical drive, that's dead.
Yeah, I haven't used that in a long time.
I had the 13-inch with 256 gig hard drive. I still have 100 gigs free. It was fine. I wasn't worried about that. The real question in my mind, and this is one I don't want to hear the answer to, what PC makers are going to make Retina? Let's not use the word Retina. Super high-res, quad-res displays, right? Isn't Samsung going to make a 9 or a 10 that's
sooner or later?
Sooner or later, sure. And it'll be cheaper?
Maybe. Depends. I mean, they could actually just build a much cheaper PC and then put a really nice high-res display in it. I mean, the thing with
that may not be what you want. This is quad core.
Yeah, the thing with this laptop is, Apple they totally blew it out, right? Yeah, they went balls to the wall on it, and they just made the best possible laptop they could. And yeah, it's going to be really expensive.
The titanium, when it came out, was $2,600.
Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat room like 25, 26. That sounds about right to me. That was just for inflation, it might be like 27, 28.
That was 29. A G4 at 400 megahertz. If you wanted 500 megahertz, $3,500. Now that was 2001 when a dollar was a dollar.
There are a few inhibiting factors on the PC side because
Windows isn't going to handle it well, right?
Well, no, Windows can actually handle very high resolution.
Do high DPI?
It can do very high DPI, but if you look at most systems today, they have either HDMI or DVI, or even dual DVI. They do not handle anything higher than about 1900 by 1200 very well. So if you start outputting much larger than that, you need to move everyone over to DisplayPort or Thunderbolt, which you don't really have that much of on the PC side yet. So
there's also some advantage Apple has because it controls the ecosystem a little bit better. So Apple, for instance, the operating system is immediately high DPI. The browser is. They upgraded most of their apps. And I would say there's more unity in the app marketplace. So
it's a huge competitive advantage. But, I mean, it's going to be a long rollout for them. Despite, how quickly they may or may not be able to actually produce the panels on this. And I think
that's what I'm wondering.
The panel production is why the wait is 5 weeks now on
it's hard to make them without a lot of dead pixels, probably. Right?
It's not only that, but yeah, I think it's just, they're just ramping this up. It's a brand new technology. Nobody else is doing it. They haven't hit scale for it yet. But there are other technical issues they need to overcome as well. I actually did a piece on Gadget calculating what I expected Retina resolutions would be for basically the entire line of MacBook Pros, Airs, iMacs, the Thunderbolt display, and even if you just pixel doubled the Thunderbolt display and the 27-inch iMac, you're talking about more physical bits that need to cross over the wire than Thunderbolt can actually support. So just to do a Retina version of the 27-inch iMac, the 27-inch Thunderbolt display.
Interesting.
You basically have to have Thunderbolt 2.0.
So I'm screwed because I was waiting for a 27-inch Retina. I guess that's not.
Yeah, I mean,
happen.
if you break it down, so it's like 5,000 pixels by 33,000 something like that pixels, right. And then 24-bit, 60 hertz. It's way more than Thunderbolt can handle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
How about SSDs? Have we? I mean, it's Apple's basically now all of its laptops now are SSD only.
Not the Legacy, not the MacBook Pro.
Oh, they have hard drives. Okay.
They still have hard drive. Okay. Yep.
But it looks like
you really
we're
need a
going
lot
that
of
way.
capacity. Definitely going that way. In 5 years, maybe a little, give or take, we'll all be on SSDs. Thankfully.
Enterprise.
Enterprise could go SSD. Pretty much the only ones who are really holding out for rotating media are those who are doing any sort of extensive video editing. That's the only application that requires a ton of space actually on the system.
Right.
And what you're seeing from those products is they're either going a hybrid route or they're going with dual drives. You've got your SSD partition and then you've got your rotating
I kind of
media
like that.
partition. I do.
I don't like the hybrids, but they seem like the performance isn't great. But I love having a boot drive that's a small SSD drive and then a massive spinning drive. That's a good compromise.
The thing with increasing storage, though, on SSD versus hard drives is it's actually a lot easier to double the storage on SSDs. We know how physically to shrink dies and make memory smaller. You actually have to come up with new scientific techniques to make hard drives double in space every couple of years. And so every time, they come out with it's basically like a new hack on the old medium, Seagate and IBM and these other guys come up with these like crazy new ways to fit more bits on these spinning platters. That does not go on forever. Right. So you can actually just kind of keep reducing the memory size and doubling capacity.
Larry and I are old enough to remember probably the days 15, 20 years ago when we said, there's no way hard drives can continue at this rate. We'll all be using holographic cubes by the year 2000.
Well, I remember the 5 megabyte hard drive and how cool that was. But
yeah.
On my desktop machine, I have a 250 gigabyte SSD and a terabyte hard drive.
Perfect.
They work very well together.
That's
I keep
perfect.
my kind of deep data on the hard drive, my working data, and my software on the SSD. And I just ordered a Western Digital terabyte USB 3.0 drive for my MacBook Air. It's going to be one of these ones that's small, powered by the USB port. I'm looking forward to that's coming tomorrow. Actually, it's an eval unit that I'm testing, but I have a feeling I'm going to probably wind up buying it.
I bought a USB 3.0 USB stick, and Crucial makes a GT, which is the higher speed SSD. And it's fast. It's not. They say 220 megabits. It's about megabytes. It's about 120 megabytes a second. But that's still 4 or 5 times faster than anything out there. But then I tested the hard drive in the Retina, and it blew me away because it's on the SATA. I guess it's 6 gigabit SATA 6.
Yeah, it's not in a controller.
Unbelievable.
When you have like a really good controller on an SSD, that actually unlocks a lot more speed than you get on just the memory itself.
Question for you, Ryan, though. We've been seeing performance drop-offs as more and more drives have to move to MLC SSDs.
That's the cheaper form of flash.
Right, yeah, there's two kinds, MLC, SLC. Yeah.
But you've got a density problem dealing with SLCs. And when are we going to start seeing reasonably priced SLCs in the 500 gigabyte range?
I can't really speak to the kind of component level aspect of this as much in terms of like long-term pricing, but I did just read something that said, basically all of the SSD memory on the market has plummeted in price over the last 12 to 18 months. It's like half what it used to be, and it's going to just keep going.
We've seen that in the
with
prices of SSDs.
Yeah, and then, because of the floods in Thailand last year and all of the production problems on hard drives, it's just, it's a lot more clear now than it was even a year or two ago that this move is happening, and it's just speeding up.
Well, you could buy a 500 gigabyte MLC SSD right now for $340, I think. I won't say who the vendor is because I don't want to give them a plug. But when I saw that sort of blew me away. I mean, I remember
how big?
500 gigs
for $340.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with MLC. I mean, it's completely adequate.
Absolutely, much of what you get is MLC now, right?
Yeah.
especially if you're buying larger quantities at smaller prices.
Can I get that thing at Newegg?
That's where it is.
You can say brands. Why not give up? I don't care. That's amazing.
I just remember when I dropped my laptop and it had an SSD, and once I saw that the case and the screen wasn't broken, I relaxed because I didn't have to worry about the hard drive breaking, which is a huge risk with physical hard drives.
Right.
So just the safety and security.
Make no mistake, there will be a day where physical, spinning platter discs will no longer be sold anymore. It's coming. It'll be a few more years, I think, before the majority of products don't have it. But we will all look back on, our spinning hard drives in our computers and say, ha, 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 the same way we look back on massive room-sized 5 megabyte hard drives. We're going to say the same thing about spinning platters. It just doesn't make any sense.
Remember those days? Alan Malvitano, who's my own personal SSD guru, he writes for PCPer.com and has a really good chart of what controllers and what's the state of the art in SSD. Says that they're using, in the Retina, they're using the Samsung 830 controller, or I guess hard drive, SSD drive. Is that a SandForce controller, a SandForce chipset on that, Alan? And it's a 6 gigabit SATA 6, which is pretty amazing speed. I don't have the benchmark in front of me. It's on the Retina, but boy, I was blown away.
I like AnandTech for that stuff too.
Yeah,
They do a lot
Anand did a great review of the Retina. If you want to read a really kind of concrete, we benchmarked it review. They're so good at those benchmarks.
Yeah, they're super good at it.
Yeah. Okay, let's do phones. We'll do phones in a bit because there's two things to talk about. Of course, Windows Phone 8. Not a lot to say about it, but we'll talk about it. I think the big upset for a lot of people is that none of the Windows Phone 7s on the market today will get Windows Phone 8.
Yeah.
They'll get 7.8. And the surprise was it's the Windows NT kernel on a phone. And what does that mean? We'll talk with our panel about that. Also coming up, a big shock. I believe it's true, but I wonder what Ryan's heard with the new iPhone connector. Oh, boy. Bad news, in my opinion. We'll find out. But first, a word from FreshBooks.com, the easy online invoicing app. I found FreshBooks. Actually, Amber MacArthur told me about it when I was one day back in 2004 complaining about invoicing. See, I was working in Canada at the time, and I had to do my own invoices, and I had to do them in Canadian dollars as well as American dollars. And come the end of the month, which was just a nightmare. It was like having to do taxes every month. I just hated it. She said, oh, no, you got to try FreshBooks. And I did, and I fell in love. And since then, 3.5 million other people have started using FreshBooks to do their online invoicing. It saves you time, gets you paid. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say 3.5 million? 4.5 million. That number's going up. Get you paid faster because clients can view the invoice online and pay you right on the spot with a credit card. And believe me, my experience was clients want to pay you. It's just as much of a pain in the butt to go through their accounts as it is for you to do the invoices. So make it easy for them. Do you bill for hours? Very cool. They've got an iPhone app that will let you take hours, also a web app, and the hours go instantly. The timesheets go instantly into the invoices. You can also run all sorts of great reports. If you're talking about taxes, your accountant will love you at tax time. It's all already done. Automated late payment reminders. And yeah, they'll even print, stamp, and mail invoices for those old-fashioned clients who like paper invoices. You got to try it. Here's the deal. Go to FreshBooks.com, and you can try it free for 30 days, and you get everything. Unlimited clients, unlimited staff, all the features, no limits for 30 days. FreshBooks.com. I think at some point they say, where'd you hear about it? Just say TWiT. That's all. Just do me a favor. Join the 4.5 million. That number just went up. It was 3.5 million. 4.5 million people who've been using FreshBooks to do their invoices. You'll see why it changed my life. Let it change yours too. FreshBooks.com. Agility 2.5-inch mid-range performance, 120 gig for $85. That's the OCZ. I think the OCZ is pretty good. Wow. It's 525 megabyte per second read.
I really need to upgrade. I'm still running on a really old 80 gig Intel SSD. It's so painful.
But those were very good at the time.
They're
they were
very
the top
good.
of the line.
It's
And
still
those were
actually very
SLC.
good. It's still actually very good.
But capacity, you mean?
Yeah, the capacity is not very good.
Kills you.
Not at all.
To have to make those decisions. Pain.
Yep.
So let's talk Apollo. So I don't know what Microsoft, it must have been just a crazy week for Microsoft. So they do the announcement on Monday of the new Surface stuff. Thursday, they had already had a scheduled announcement for the new Windows Phone. I'm sure you went to that.
Yeah, that was in San Francisco, so I went over to that. That was at the Windows Phone Summit.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell, what was your reaction? What do you think?
I think they're working on some really, really interesting stuff with it. I don't think there's anything that's going to kind of blow the doors off, but some really, really great incremental improvements. One of the things that I thought was actually really interesting and not one of the more lauded announcements was they already have an answer to Apple's Passbook. I think that's what it's called, Passbook.
Yeah, you mean the wallet, the built-in
Yeah, it's
wallet.
basically a wallet, but it's to call it a wallet, I think maybe kind of reductive because it also includes like train tickets and deals, and you can scan the pay stuff and coupons and all that stuff. So
they're going to have that in Windows Phone 8.
Yep.
No, actually, they're going to release that beforehand. They have a couple of apps. I think they're going to ship earlier than Windows Phone 8.
So I don't think that they're going to release that beforehand because from how they described it, it requires a secure SIM to work.
Oh, okay.
That's how their security model on that works, which I think is kind of not a very smart way to go about that. But I think that they're doing that so they can actually offload some carrier control on it. But yeah, either way, it's still, I think, a kind of an interesting play for them. Their big thing, though, was the new user interface for the home screen.
Right, which you kind of get on Windows Phone 7, 8. People who bought. I think the people who feel the worst are the ones who just bought Lumia 900s.
Yeah, actually, we put the Lumia 900 on our must-have list, which is kind of like our top 3 recommended products of every kind of product. And we debated for weeks about the Lumia, and we actually gave it the number 3 spot. And it was actually big to do, and Microsoft made a real big deal about that. And then when we find out about the fact that Windows Phone 8 is not going to be compatible with any of the current models, we took it off. We took it off our list. We no longer recommend that you buy the Lumia.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's still a good phone. I mean, we didn't reduce its score, but we actually, and that was also right around the same time that the new Samsung came out. So we promoted the Samsung S3 and we took the Lumia 900 off. Yeah.
So you have actually, I would agree 100%. The iPhone 4S, the HTC One X, and the Galaxy S3. Those are the 3.
Yep.
And they're very tight.
Now, I do think that there's going to be room for a Windows Phone 8 phone later this year, but the 900 is not it right now.
Just a new screen, though, doesn't seem like enough of a big deal. It's going to have the NT kernel. What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
I mean, I know, but like they didn't really do a very good job of explaining who cares.
It's a unified platform now, though, right? So Windows, Windows RT.
Yeah. So with the unified kernel, you're getting closer to the promise of write once, compile many times.
Right.
So technically, as long as you've got all the settings right for display size, you should be able to cross-compile across for Windows 8 Metro on the desktop, for the Windows Phone, for the Xbox, and for the tablets.
Oh, even the Xbox.
Well,
no, I don't know about that. And they actually, that's not entirely. I mean, maybe that's what they're working towards, but that's not where they're at with the shared
absolutely
core.
Not there yet.
Because they definitely did talk about, okay, we made it so much easier for developers to port to Windows Phone or to port to Metro from Windows Phone because of this new shared core kernel architecture. But it's not there right now. It's definitely not at the point where you just tick the boxes that you want to build for.
Right. The real question I wonder from a consumer standpoint is how important is it that they're going to be putting the Metro interface on everything they do? Is that really going to become something that consumers are going to look for and expect and feel good about, having a relatively common user interface among all their Microsoft devices?
Well, what was it that you said that Ballmer said? They're all in? They're betting the farm?
They're all in, yeah.
That's how you're all in. You're saying we believe so much in this very, it's interesting because it's so opposite Apple with the skeuomorphic, stitching and leather applications. There's not a rounded corner in the bunch. There's not a shadow. It's a box. And it's going to be everywhere. And I think that this is Microsoft saying, the problem is that these things are really about style, and they're about fads, and they're about fashion. This isn't functionality we're talking. It's fashion.
We care? Do we really care? I mean, is it that important that our phone and our tablet and our laptop all have the same Metro interface? I, for one, can live with slightly different interfaces with different types of devices. But for some reason, Microsoft seems to think it's a really big deal.
Shouldn't you make the form follow the function.
We don't care, but developers will care.
Yeah.
And that's what they need.
It's for developers.
That's for developers.
It's that one click, that checkbox across the board. And Microsoft needs that because they need apps on the Windows Phone, and more importantly on Windows RT, they really need apps. They've got but what it also means, but is Metro enough for business? Isn't a Metro app means that it doesn't use the desktop or it can use the desktop?
No.
It doesn't
necessarily use the desktop.
It doesn't use the desktop, so it's just slideys. I have to think that in 3 years that interface is going to look as old as an Edsel.
Well, the iOS interface to me looks incredibly old. Yeah,
it's dated.
When
you compare that to Android and widgets and live desktops and so forth, it's just a array of icons. That's pretty dated. You can't have fish swimming through your iPhone.
It's not that the array of icons doesn't work. It clearly works. It's just
I got to feed my fish.
We know that we want more.
Sorry.
If you don't feed them, do they start to get
No, but that would be cool if they died. And
they
started
they float to the top of the phone.
Right.
Yeah, they go to the top. See, the food comes down from the top there. There it goes. Come on, fishies. I'm sorry, I'm completely derailing the show here. Continue on. Oh, there they go.
One of the other things they showed was NFC, which
I like NFC.
That's something that within
in this phone.
The nerdy community, people are really stoked about.
When you come into the Brick House, how many of you? Nobody. When you come to the Brick House, you can tap your phone. We have a tactile, one of the Samsung tactiles, that will check you into Foursquare when you come in. You just go like that. How many of you did that? Show of hands.
Chad, you don't count.
Oh, nobody! I didn't even do it. I forgot. That's an interesting part of this S3 announcement that was U.S. only. The S3 is one of like a handful of phones that have, and the NFC's in the battery, which is smart because Samsung is now saying you can't buy a third-party battery. You got to buy a Samsung.
Well, smart for them.
Yeah, smart for them.
Not for us.
For me, I always buy third-party battery. And and for a very high price, for I think it's $5 per sticker. It's $15 for a pack of $3 a sticker. $15 for a pack of 5. You can buy these very interesting, and they have circuitry on the back, little stickers. And you put them on things. So you put it on your dashboard in your car and you tap it. The phone goes bloop and it turns on Bluetooth. Or you can do a Foursquare check-in. Or there's a variety of things you can do with the software. You have to be running the Samsung Tactile software. And I get this. I don't know if it's proprietary or if this is going to be generic NFC and you could use it with a Windows Phone.
Well, so on Windows Phone 8, NFC is kind of built into the core OS, so it's a little bit different, I think, from what you're seeing.
This is a bag hung off the side,
right? Exactly. So they want that to be kind of a core experience, and I think we'll probably see that from Apple sooner or later.
Well, that's the question.
They're gonna have to get there.
Can NFC succeed if Apple doesn't jump on the bandwagon?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Not with Windows Phone 8 right now, right? We know what their market share is. It's not, despite it being a pretty interesting product, it's not enough to drive NFC as a successful technology.
And there's only
a
couple of phones that support it on Android.
But the thing is, if Apple does it and it's not any kind of open standard, we don't have any kind of cross-platform NFC standardization. In terms of getting my iPhone to communicate with your Windows Phone 8 phone,
right?
Then I think there's a huge missed opportunity there.
But I tell you, if there were an NFC standard just for Foursquare, that every place you go have a little thing that you tap it and it checks into Foursquare. That's good for Foursquare. It'd be very interesting. It would promote NFC. It needs to be cross-platform. I presume there's a standard.
Well, NFC is itself a standard.
So that tactile should work on anything that's an NFC.
Theoretically. But if I want to do something like if I want to use my iPhone to connect to your Windows Phone 8 phone, and NFC is just the mechanism that syncs that up,
right.
That is not necessarily standardized.
I can see now. Somebody in the chat room pointed out that Apple apparently does have a patent for NFC for the iPhone. Mike's
It doesn't matter, though. They have a million
that.
patents.
Yeah, you patent everything.
Patent does not mean that they're going to build anything.
I could see Apple being petulant and saying, that's fine. Go ahead. Have fun with your NFC, kids. We'll use something else. I totally could see them do that.
NFC will become popular when all the major financial institutions get behind it. Because across the world, that has been the only real successful use case for NFC. That's why Nokia built NFC into their phones way, way back.
Right. Oh, really? It's been there.
They've had it for. I mean, NFC is just a communication standard. It's a way to get identifying information from a relatively inexpensive sensor.
It stands for near field communication.
Exactly.
It's like RFID almost.
But the problem is, I mean, a lot of U.S. financial institutions have adopted NFC in some form or another, and you've got Google Wallet with Amex and I think Visa and stuff like that. And they're all looking at it, but they're all doing it in different ways. And MasterCard has their PayPass or whatever they call it, and none of it's compatible with each other. Everybody wants to kind of do it their own way, and that's why it takes like an Apple to come in and be like, no, look, everybody's going to do it this way, and you may not like it, but at least we're going to be in one platform.
Yeah.
And I think that people haven't really figured out the huge benefit for it yet. I mean, I don't think it's that compelling a use case. I mean, there are terminals and various merchants. I can't remember the big national ones.
McDonald's has a PayPass.
I think, McDonald's. I wonder what percentage of McDonald's customers are actually using it. I'm sure it's
almost
very
none. I mean, it's so small.
Aren't people a little nervous about the security idea that they might get charged?
Potentially, but I went to Japan a few years ago, and I didn't quite fully understand it until it's completely ubiquitous. Right. And once it's completely ubiquitous, once it's everywhere, then it actually becomes completely essential.
Sure.
Right? Like you use the same mechanism to get on the train, buy lunch, get back on the train later in the day, from some other kind of train, open your door at home. It does everything, and until it does everything, until it's completely ubiquitous and standardized, it's just ghettoized.
And I'm sure that the phone manufacturers are not insensible to this. It makes this thing the most important thing in your pocket. The phone suddenly is your wallet. It's everything.
Right. It's really in their best. It's really in their best interest. To do this.
Mm-hmm. So that's why Apple should do it.
Well,
I think they will.
One of the considerations is you have to build the hooks for NFC into the OS. In other words, it's not going to work if you have to start up your financial app in order to pay for something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And start up your ID app in order to open a door. So all of that functionality has to be built into the OS where it's always running in the background. Now, you could do that in Android by hacking it. I mean, that's how I have it on my Galaxy S2. It's actually a hack. Whether or not Apple wants to build it into iOS, I mean, they're not known for wanting to include a lot of overhead.
And then
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
What about the energy issue? The reason the battery to have yet another.
I can't imagine it uses.
No, it uses almost no power. But the reason we're talking about this is because, to your point about building it into the stack, that's what Microsoft did. They built NFC into the stack. That's a key component of Windows Phone 8 for them.
Mm-hmm. So that's in the background. It's running all the time. I think this is a really compelling technology, and it's clear there's money to be made. But I think that you kind of have to get Apple, because Apple is such a big part of the universe that merchants and credit cards, in everywhere but the U.S., smart cards are everywhere. A chip in the card, right? I mean, this is not a new idea. This never penetrated in the U.S. I'm not sure why. Yeah. We didn't want it or something. I think people were probably nervous about the whole thing.
Any other stuff in Windows Phone 8 that seemed...
Well, we should mention that 7.8, which is going to be available on existing Windows phones down to the Galaxy or the Samsung Focus S, will merely give you the gutter, the new window, start window. But they've already released a couple of the apps. There's going to be the new Nokia maps, not Bing Maps, right? So that's interesting. It's like, I guess Microsoft says Nokia maps are better than our own product. Makes you wonder, do you think Microsoft will buy Nokia?
Well, I mean, it was in the register, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But didn't they post something about this a few days ago, saying that Microsoft kind of looked at the books and they ran away screaming in horror?
If they bought Nokia, it would be a charitable donation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, but the stock price is going down,
better
so it gets cheaper and cheaper every moment. They don't need it.
They don't need it.
But they might buy it for maps. They might, if it's cheap enough, you might buy it for some intellectual.
They didn't have to, right? They could have spent $70 billion or whatever it was to buy Nokia a couple of years ago, or they paid $1 billion to Nokia to get them to license Windows Phone exclusively and become basically the premier Windows Phone partner. So why buy the cow when you get the milk for free?
We did talk about this on Windows Weekly, and I think one of the points it's probably Paul Thurrott, maybe it was Mary Jo Foley, made about this is that nowadays manufacturing is different. You don't need manufacturing capability because everybody makes this. It's all made in China anyway. You need design, you need engineering, But you don't buy Nokia because they make phones, because you can do that. You don't need you. That's what Foxconn's for.
Well, it's harder to design a phone than people might give it credit. It's very difficult to build a cell phone. The manufacturing
so there
component,
is some
the actual
expertise
assembly,
there. You're right. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a huge amount of expertise there.
Okay.
I mean, that's why Facebook doesn't have a phone yet.
Right.
For
are they still working on that?
There's a lot of rumblings right now that they're hiring like crazy from the Apple mobile.
That's
teams.
just crazy. Why bother?
We'll see. So wait, there were two other things with Windows.
So
the
the
compatibility,
maps?
that was a big issue, and then the Siri competitor.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Right.
Yes, the Tell Me acquisition is now kind of. I mean, the funny thing about that was they demoed a Siri-like system, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I'm glad somebody else is kind of really getting into this. And then when the voice came on, it sounded so much like Siri that I thought that they were just punking everybody. Like,
right.
I thought it was going to be like a big joke. But that's actually the voice. I mean, they just copied the Siri voice.
Wow.
One thing I find interesting about the Microsoft implementation is that I understand it, there's going to be APIs so that the voice can talk directly to third-party apps. So one of the things that frustrates me with my iPhone is that, for example, on the map side, Siri is linked to Google Maps, which is their current mapping program. Obviously, it'll go to the Apple Maps. But I happen to use Telenav Maps, which is a really, in my opinion, a better mapping program. Why can't Siri take me to that app? Why does it have to just work for Apple apps?
Apple. And by the way,
I know
Apple is using Telenav Maps.
But the Telenav app doesn't respond to Siri.
Yeah.
Sure, because
I think a lot of people are expecting that.
It does have voice recognition, but Siri can't talk to it.
Right.
I think a lot of people are expecting that Siri will eventually start to be able to talk to other things, and the Siri functionality in iOS 6 has been expanding in the new version, but it's not there yet. I think that's what Microsoft thought that they could kind of put a stake in the ground on is having their voice application be able to talk to more stuff.
Is the Siri voice from Nuance or AT&T? They're saying in the chat room it's a Nuance voice, and that, in fact, Tell Me had it before Siri. So really, Apple stole it from Tell Me.
Nice.
Hey, it's a nice voice.
Well, I mean, Siri was around long before Apple, so...
Right. Yeah, Siri was a third party that Apple bought.
So the incompatibility?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of angry people, but on the other hand, people are kind of used to buying a phone and just having it be what it is, right? I mean, this notion that a phone should always be upgraded.
If you've ever bought an Android phone, you've got maybe like 2 versions if you're real lucky.
Even Apple's not going to upgrade all of the iPhones to iOS 6.
They do this all the time. I think the thing that's different about Windows Phone 8 not being compatible with basically any phones on the market right now is they said that. They said straight out, it's not like you buy the latest, greatest, highest end phone right now. We will guarantee these 1 or 2 models will be upgradable. Right. There's 0 upgrade path. Right. So that basically means like if you're following Windows Phone at all, you're not going to want to buy anything Windows Phone related until the end of the year.
It kills the market from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. They Osborned it.
Yep.
I mean, you're essentially alienating the entire Windows Phone user base right now. I mean,
which is minuscule.
There are going to be tens of people who are just really ticked off.
It's harsh. It's so harsh.
Somebody in the reposter is saying, no, you get a Google Experience phone, you can upgrade it. No. If you have a Nexus 1.
Yeah, tell that to the Nexus 1 owners.
If you have a Nexus 1, you ain't going to Jelly Bean, baby. Or even
I don't want to hear about like hacking your ROMs and stuff because that does not count.
What are we going to see at Google I/O? Are they going to put glasses under the seat?
I don't think so.
No. You'll get a phone and a tablet, right? And there will be a Nexus tablet, a Google-branded tablet.
That's probably what they're going to give to people. I'm guessing that's what folks are going to walk away with is some kind of a Google tablet. But we'll see next week.
That's supposedly 7-inch tablet, I've heard. I don't know. I'm not. That's not.
They gave 2 years ago. They gave away the Galaxy 7, and I liked it. I think wasn't it, or maybe it was the 10.
No, it was the 10 one.
Last
the Galaxy 10
last
one.
year wasn't it last year they gave away the 10 one? There was a tablet last year, wasn't there? Yeah.
The year before that was the Chromebook, right?
That's right.
I'm still holding out hope for glasses.
I want glasses.
I don't know about the glasses.
So what's with Larry Page's voice? Lots of conspiracies. Google says no, he just lost his voice. On the other hand, people are worried. Might be sick.
Maybe he didn't want to. He just didn't want a keynote.
I mean, if you lost your voice a week ago,
he does not do public stuff.
I think he must be shy. He lost his voice a week ago, and he skipped the stockholder meeting, and now they're saying he's not going to be at Google I/O either.
He actually lost his voice calling up Larry Ellison late at night and laughing maniacally into the phone. So.
Larry Ellison bought the island of Lanai. Who's laughing now?
He did that because he was so depressed.
Yeah.
He needed an impulse buy.
I think he was spending the money he thought he was going to win from Google. And oops.
Big money here.
Oops. What do you do with an island of Lanai's a nice island, as I remember. That's not Molokai. That's not the Leper Island. That's a nice island.
But something to remember about property in Hawaii, by state law, there are no private beaches. All the beaches have to be accessible to the public. So
Yeah, it's like that for Richard Branson's island, too.
that's right, yeah.
Necker Island.
So you can just sail up and get out.
It's the Queen's Island. But he apparently has like a security force on the island.
He's got dogs. He's got mines.
Yeah.
So will we get to sit on Larry's
Snipers.
beach then? And will he bring us a cocktail?
We'll sail right
Mai Tai
up, and he can't do a thing about it.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that would be the perfect place for a wedding.
On Larry's island.
I've got him on speed dial. I'll let him know.
Hey, Al.
Well, actually, so Lunai is where Bill Gates got married, I thought.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
That's right.
So I'll carry that
It was
tradition on.
I guess it was owned by the pineapple people, the Dole.
Dole.
People.
Yeah.
But that's right. I forgot. Bill Gates got married in Lanai. It was a beautiful wedding.
Does
Done
that
by
mean
a Jesuit priest.
that Larry Ellison is now officially in charge of Bill Gates' marriage? And
Well,
he has to go to Bill?
the good news is he got all the surface-to-air missiles that were installed for that wedding are still there. So he's got the privacy he's been looking for. Yeah.
And there's a hollowed-out volcano, so it'll be perfect for him.
It's very Dr. No. It really is. I just love it. All right, we're going to take a break. A couple more wacky stories like Larry Page is losing his voice and Larry Ellison buying an island. And I haven't gotten to the 19-pin mini connector. I got a vent.
And don't forget Facebook under 13.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Well, geez, this is a jam-packed show. It's great to have you. Larry Magid, Ryan Block, and Padre S.J., Father Robert Ballecer on TWiT. Great to have you watching, too. Before we take a break, let's check in with Tom Merritt and see what's coming up in the week ahead. Tom?
Hey, thanks, Leo. There's a lot of stuff coming up in the week ahead. Here's some of the things we'll be keeping track of on Tech News today. Today, the Sony Xperia Ion drops, if you're interested in that. Monday, June 25th, Gadget Live in New York and the kickoff of O'Reilly Velocity. Tuesday, the new extended cut ending for Mass Effect comes out. Wednesday, June 27th, kicks off Google I.O. We expect some big new announcements from Google there. Also, the EU court is to rule on the $1.1 billion Microsoft fine. Thursday, June 28th, RIM has its earnings. Verizon's Share Everything plans go into effect, and it's Tau Day. Friday, June 29th, Sprint's Virgin Mobile iPhone comes. Plans start at $30. And June 30th is the last day for Mobile Me. All that and more are things we'll be keeping an eye on TNT. Back to you, Leo.
Thank you, Tom Merritt. Tom Merritt, TNT, the daily news show that delivers every weekday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on twit.tv. And we will be covering Google I.O. for sure. We'll do keynote coverage starting at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. And if they do as they've done in the past, they sometimes do a Thursday keynote, too. We'll probably cover that as well, right? Chad, have we figured out? We don't know. We don't know what we're doing. Stay tuned. You can just watch all the time. And we'll be sure to have something exciting. Is Towel Day coming up? Oh, Towel Day.
I prefer Towel Day.
I like Towel Day. You know Towel Day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Towel
Don't
Day's
forget to bring a towel.
Then don't panic. What is Tau? Is that the pi is 3.14? What is Tau? Anybody? Chat room? 6.28. Who said that? Veronica Belmont. Math whiz. How do you know that? It's June 28th. Oh, I get it. But what is Tau used for? It's double pi? Ooh, do we get double pi on Tau Day?
Wow.
Ooh. Hey, before we go on, Squarespace.com, the secret behind exceptional websites, a wonderful place if you are ready to step up to the best server, the best content management system, always secure, always up to date, then I want you to visit Squarespace.com. You know, they make it so easy. I love to see this in a company. This is confidence. Hey, you want to try it? No problem. Click the green button. You get the run of the place for 2 weeks. No cost, no credit card, nothing. All you have to do is give your name, email address, a name for your site, and a password. You can even uncheck the stay in touch box. They won't bug you. For 2 weeks, you got everything. The great Google fonts, 300-plus fonts. You've got the 85-plus custom templates. If you, well, I'll save that for later when you buy. They have the iOS and Android apps that let you post. They have beautiful photo galleries, widgets for all the social media. It couldn't be easier to design a unique, beautiful site. And then the hosting is so good, you cannot bring a Squarespace site down. They do some very sophisticated stuff to make sure that there's always all the bandwidth you need. If you're a podcaster, if you're a photographer, if you're an artist, if you're a business, if you need a website, you've got to check it out, squarespace.com. Now, here's the deal. After the 2 weeks, do the 2 weeks. You continue to, the site will continue on after the 2 weeks. You then have the chance to subscribe. Now, they have month-to-month deals, but I recommend the annual deals. In fact, if you do buy an annual deal, you'll save more on our TWiT offer. And if you get the annual deal, they will throw in a domain registration. So if you've got, let's knittogether.com, they'll get the whole, you get the site. Well, I'm sure you already have that, Kat. But they get the site. Hey, could you bring me my Jane hat? It's in you know which one, the pom-pom. I want to wear the hat. If I'm going to do the show, I should wear the hat. Yeah, Jammer B knows. He was a fan. So you get the domain name. They hook it up so you get the referral and all that works. And the price is right. So $8 a month is their standard when billed annually. $16 a month is their unlimited when billed annually. And that means unlimited. I don't know how they do this. Unlimited pages, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited storage, and they do the domain name and all of that stuff. It is really great. Squarespace.com/nothing. Just go to squarespace.com and do the 2 weeks free, but then sign up and use the offer code TWiT6 because you get 10% off your first purchase. So that's going to be, if you sign up for the month, the yearly plan, you're going to save the most. Isn't this nice? Cat knit this for me. You know what happened? She knit me one. This is this Jane hat from Firefly. She knit me one, and then when Colleen left us, I said, take a hat, any hat from the collection. She took my Jane hat. So very nice of you, Kat. Thank you for knitting me another one. How many people do we have in our studio audience today? That's a full house, like 38 people. It's nice to have you all. Thank you for visiting. From the farthest away was Australia. I think we had a little competition. I'm not giving you the Jane hat, though. And the closest was, it's either between Chad, me, or Jammer B. We're not sure. The people who work here don't have long to go. Okay, you wanted to talk about 13-year-olds on Facebook. Is Facebook actually, they can't change that policy because isn't that the Child Online Protection Act?
Yes.
Yeah, the COPPA law would have to be obeyed. They would have to get verifiable parental consent. And that's absolutely what they're talking about. It turns out that there are millions of kids already on Facebook.
Oh, sure.
And a study found that 68% of them had their parents helping them. So if Facebook were to officially invite kids under 13, parents would have to be involved. And how it would look, we don't know. They haven't made any announcements. But I would envision that there would be parental controls. There'd be some kind of parental dashboard. The parents would have access to what the kids are doing. And they would actually cater to these children, as opposed to the fact that now they're in there, they're lying about their age. They may say they're 13, they may say they're 30, but whatever they're doing, they're not getting any protections whatsoever. So I think that kind of a sandbox version of Facebook would be a good thing for kids under 13.
Now, Larry has been very involved with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He does the Safe Kids site, safekids.com. So you're more than usual aware of the dangers online for kids. Yeah, I think they're somewhat overblown, but of course, you're in public, basically. And I think sometimes parents and kids think, well, he's in his bedroom. How much trouble could he get into? and that's the point. It is kind of public. You're in as much risk, I guess, as you'd be at the mall.
Well, actually, you're in less risk. Well,
you're not physically
there. It is overblown. The predator issue is way overblown. But there are issues of reputation management, bullying, kids who are just saying things that they shouldn't be saying.
That's a bigger issue, isn't it?
Much bigger issue. And I think that Facebook needs to have tools to help parents prevent those kinds of problems. I'm not as worried about predators as I am about kids just doing dumb things that get them into some kind of trouble. And let's face it, when you're talking about a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old, there's performance anxiety, they're how they behave on Facebook, lots of issues. So if they're going to be there and they're there anyway, I say be there with some kind of parental controls. And I'm hoping Facebook does something, and a lot of internet safety advocates have been pushing them for a long time. There's this myth that they're doing it just to make more money. That may or may not be true, but they've also been pressured to do it from some of us in the internet safety community.
I actually don't think it should be limited just to kids under 13. I mean, I can't imagine letting, a 14 or a 15 or even a 16-year-old just go wild on Facebook with zero supervision.
Yeah, parents.
I think having those tools would be
But
amazing.
the reason parents, and I'll speak as a parent, the reason parents let their kids use Facebook at a younger age, I did not, but the reason some parents do, and I know I think I have family that did, is because this is nowadays how kids socialize. It's how they interact. It's you cut that off. You're cutting off a vital lifeline. It's like telling a teenager from our generation, Larry, not to use the phone.
That's right. And by the way, I am on a Facebook Safety Advisory Board. So
good.
Clearly they will get advice. And we have a booklet called Facebook for Parents, or Parents Guide to Facebook, which is at fbparents.org. That's FB as in Facebook, parents.org. And that's the online free version of a 40-page booklet that explains to parents how they can parent in the 21st century. So I urge people to take a look. And I agree with you. Whether your kids are 4 or 14 or, for that matter, 40, there should be some kind of controls. I'm not sure about 40, but maybe not parental control, self-control.
I need some controls, trust me.
Don't
if you saw the blather I post on Facebook.
I see a couple of issues here, though. I mean, the first issue is, maturity of the child, or maturity of the young adult. And you made a very good point, which is there are some very mature 10-year-olds, and there are some very immature 30-year-olds.
Right.
But I don't see that as big of a problem as the implementation, which is when you've got a 10-year-old who is most likely more tech-savvy than his parents, how do you make sure that he uses this? I mean, if he knows that his Facebook activity is going to be monitored, isn't he just going to make another account?
That's where the anxiety comes from parents, is that we don't feel like I do, but I always knew more than my kids did. But most parents go, they run rings around me.
Right.
We hear that all the time, and parents need to be parents. Look, I supervise my kids in their soccer games, and I know nothing about soccer, but I know something about sportsmanship and teamwork and just being there for my kids. And I think the same thing is true for the online world. You don't have to be a tech genius to be a good parent, even though you need to be aware of the technology, just like I'm kind of aware of soccer.
I think Larry nailed it.
You have to have the conversations. You have to be present. By the way, Facebook did. If you ever wondered what happens when you report something on Facebook, Facebook released an infographic that is hysterical. This is the decision tree. This is not made up. This is from Facebook. They have committees and teams, and you can imagine there's a safety team. There's a hate and harassment team. There's an abusive content team. There's an access team.
I'm still waiting to hear back from the report an imposter team. I have a Facebook imposter right now.
And you haven't heard back? How long has it been?
I don't know, a day or two.
Somebody posted...
But they're actually using it to establish friendships with, very important people in the industry. Like, I think they established friendship with Lisa, your CEO, Tom Merritt.
The person who's impersonating you?
Yeah.
Lisa, so that wasn't Ryan. So how do we know what's the real Ryan Block on Facebook?
It's always been the same. It's just like facebook.com/Ryan Block.
See, that's a problem. When somebody impersonates you and they have a picture of you and they say, would you be my friend? I might be fooled by that. How would I know that it's not the Ryan Block?
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I don't think that anybody did anything wrong. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing. It's just, it's messed up. And, you have very little recourse.
There was a post on
Facebook. They've got a huge. They do that infographic is kind of funny, but they do have a huge infrastructure.
Well, imagine they've got
900
million
in Ireland.
Users.
And they're working on making reporting, getting feedback from reporting better, but they've got a ways to go.
No,
still.
I'm impressed. In fact, I was not this. I didn't look at this and go, "Oh yeah, that'll work." I looked at it and said, "Wow." I mean, think about the difficulty, the challenge of Facebook faces every single day. There was a really interesting post on. What is that? Is that it?
It's the same thing.
Yeah. There was a really interesting post. You're trying to read it? Post, I think it was on Hacker News, about a guy who was memorialized. So, there's if you die, your friends can memorialize your Facebook page and lock it down. And it says this person's dead, but you could put a memorial here. He's not dead yet.
Uh-oh.
That's an interesting prank, and now that I've mentioned it, it can only be a matter of time before somebody kills me on Facebook. I probably shouldn't have said anything.
So you should log into Facebook every day to find out if you're still alive.
Make sure you're alive.
It's like checking the obituaries in the newspaper.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to read your obituary.
No.
Actually, I would like to read my obituary.
I already wrote mine.
Yeah, just submit it to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I should read mine. I'm almost dead. Facebook forced to allow users to opt out of advertisements. When I read this, I thought, oh, this is good, but it's not what you think. You can, this is a legal settlement. I think it happened in the UK, but I'm sure Facebook will have to do this globally. You know how sometimes they use your name in sponsored stories? Yeah. Whether you would, you don't get any money for it. It's like an ad with your name. Ryan Block loves Depends. And then...
And that's true.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my profile. And then, now you can opt out, apparently. 5 users were annoyed about their faces being used as part of Facebook's sponsored stories, which allow companies to use the photos and names of people who have liked a brand. I see this all the time. Robert Scoble likes everything.
He really does.
He likes everything. Yeah. So whenever I log into Facebook, there it is. Robert Scoble likes Crest Breath Mints.
He really does like everything. Actually, I posted on Twitter. I posted the simple guide to figuring out which of your friends to unfriend on Facebook.
Oh,
and it takes you to which of your friends have like Nickelback.
Oh, and if they have Nickelback, you shouldn't like them. Yeah. Now, see, look.
Unfortunately, Robert's on the
says Ryan Block. Now I'm already your friend. That's the fake.
Yeah, that's the fake one.
That's the fake one. And Facebook's suggesting it to me, which is bad because
and that's how I actually heard about it. Is my real friend started pinging me and saying, "Hey, did something happen to your account?
Right. Why are you on
It's suggesting me to befriend you, but we're already friends."
Right.
And
I am sorry. That sucks.
Yeah, it does kind of suck. Everybody, go report him.
What is the benefit to that person? He's just making trouble?
I don't know.
Troll.
I'm sorry. See how sticky this is? I'm starting to look at my Facebook page. You can't. It's like, oh, I opened it. I shouldn't have opened it because now I want to post. I hate it and I love it. I'm on TWiT right now. Be right back. Nike gets in a little trouble in the UK. Apparently, Nike has some tame soccer players. They call them footballers. Wayne Rooney and Jack Wilshere. Nike said, look, everybody in the UK knows these guys do our endorsements. They tweeted using a Nike website and a Nike hashtag. And they're really tough in Great Britain on this kind of stuff. And the Advertising Standards Authority says no. And they said, Nike, you can't do that anymore. We don't have anything like that in the U.S. You can post anything you want.
No, we do.
You can't tweet from the end zone.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
There was that law.
There are rules?
Yeah, there was that law that was passed. It was like a year or two ago about online
FTC.
celebrity endorsements.
Right.
And
You have to say ad or something.
Yeah, you have to. Basically you have to disclose the relationship.
Yeah.
And
but if you
bloggers have to disclose freebies now. When you blog, I think, and you get something free, you're supposed to disclose that now.
Good.
FTC rule.
Good. Finally, I've got to it. The new iPhone, according to a lot of people, including TechCrunch, and we saw the Mobile Fun video, will no longer have a 30-pin port. Ryan, tell me it ain't so. A 19-pin port that will make every cable, every dock, even that $200 radio I bought, incompatible.
Leo, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go on the record. I've been saying for years that they need to phase out that old school iPod.
I guess it is old school.
I mean, it's old. It's huge.
Yeah.
It was built, in another era for another kind of product. It's not meant for what it is. It's like the biggest single thing about the iPhone besides the screen.
Yeah, you're right.
They have to build the whole phone around that port right now.
I've thousands of dollars invested.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll figure out an adapter solution.
Everything's got a little wire hanging off.
Which will be
it's
fine
not
for
gonna be
wires,
pretty.
But how about docks?
But
You're going to have a
don't
What
you-
do I have? I have a
it's
Sonos dock. I have that Renew radio. They all have 30-pin connectors. What am I going to do?
It's going to be ugly for a
Don't
couple
you
of
love
years.
that every Android device uses this little guy?
Yes.
I mean, they're all the same.
USB,
tiny.
baby.
But
You can
that
buy 'em for
USB port doesn't do
$2.
everything.
Yeah, this presumably 19-pin port will do more than the micro USB port that's on every
I
other
mean,
phone.
and you know, there's no standardization around that USB
But
port.
it would if they had adopted MHL. They could do all the
But
docking.
MHL is newer, right? We've been using micro USB in phones, and it was ratified. Micro USB specifically was ratified as a standard in the EU
GSM.
for all phone ports, and it doesn't support data, or I'm sorry, it doesn't support audio, analog audio. It only supports the raw data and charging. So it's not as equipped as, you know, what we think of as being like a proper.
So you're
dock
saying
connector.
it could if it were an MHL?
It could,
would
but,
be-
but he's right. It doesn't transport analog audio, so you would need some sort of digital to
don't
analog
care.
converter within the device.
That's fine. That's what the earphone port is for.
No, but you care because that would make your dock not work.
Oh.
Yeah.
But this is
screwed.
already
What you're
going to make
saying
his
is
dock not work.
Yeah, I'm screwed no matter what.
Well, look,
basically.
it's going to happen sooner or later.
I guess.
So would you rather it happen sooner?
No, but you know, I have to
later.
say it's risky because I may not buy a new iPhone because I want to keep my old iPhone and keep all that compatibility, right?
Yeah.
Won't people stick with a 4S?
I have this really expensive audio system that,
Yes.
that connects to an iPhone.
Yes.
And unless maybe they'll make an adapter. I don't know. But do I throw it away?
You know, what I'd really like to see is a like a trade-in program. You know, bring in one cable, get another one back.
bring in one
adapter,
dock,
get
get a
another
new
one back.
dock.
I don't think they're going to do that for the docks, but you know, maybe.
You know,
maybe
they
someday.
did. If I can do another show and tell here, they did for the new MacBook Airs and the new Retina. They came up
this
with
is the
new thing.
ridiculousest
And they
thing ever
sold this thing for
invented.
$10, right? But that's
Pisses
kind
me
of cool. For
off.
$10, you get to use your old MagSafe device. So
You know, my favorite thing about that,
not a bad
Larry,
idea. Yeah.
is they didn't need to make the MagSafe
This
too. It totally fits.
on an Air.
Yeah.
What's the
It's so
problem?
ridiculous.
I have no
And
idea
it's
why
not
they do
better.
it,
It's
but-
not more pins. It's not different. It's just
Right.
physically different.
Yeah.
And now they get $10 out of me, and none of these work. That
But
is
this
the
is the
single
strongest
reason
magnet I've
not to
ever
buy a
used.
Retina.
Yeah, it's pretty irritating.
Really.
Well, when I saw this story, I thought of this. There was a Mini Cooper at USB. It was a special edition, very well decked out, and it had a perfectly formed dock for an iPhone 4S. And so now
You
I
need
guess
a new
have to
car
upgrade
now.
your car in order
Yeah.
to make it work with the new
Son of
phone.
a-
That's fantastic.
And by the way, okay, we're gonna leave. Tom left this out of the story, but the Higgs boson has probably been discovered. Right? Big story, right? Okay. How about this? Time Warner patents a method for disabling fast forward on DVRs.
How dare they? I am outraged.
Sons of beaches.
Now that's really important.
All right. What a great panel. Thank you so much for being here. I got to thank you. This has been a lot of fun. We ran out of time with so much more we could talk about, but you know, life is short. Twit is long. Thank you so much, Larry Magid, larrysworld.com and safekids.com. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Next time, come here.
I will.
Come to me. At
have
Larry
wine.
Magid on Twitter.
I love Petaluma.
Robert
Welcome to
will
Petaluma.
turn water into wine.
Absolutely. Just bring me a bunch of water and tell me if you like red or white.
He'll buy a bottle. Robert Ballecer, the future host of TWiT. I think we're going to call it TWiT.
TWiT.
Not tweet.
It's very French sounding.
This week in Enterprise Tech. TWiT, right? TWiT is going to be wonderful. And, of course, you can find him at the techstop.net. That's where your podcast lives.
Absolutely.
Great to have you, Bob. Can I call you Bob?
Sure.
Nobody calls you Bob.
My dad's Bob, but in the brick house, I guess I'm Bob.
I don't know. Just Father Bob sounds good.
I thought it was Friar Tech.
Friar Tech's good, too. Come here. Veronica, come here. We're saying goodbye. You'll be on for 3 seconds. Please. We just want everybody to congratulate our newly affianced. What did she say?
Don't try to marry her right now.
Come on. Now, just join hands. Great to have you. Congratulations, both Ryan and Veronica. Ryan Block at gdgt.com. Tuesday's the event in New York City.
Monday.
Okay, sorry. Monday's the event. Go to gdgt.com to find out more.
Details are there.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're so happy for you, too.
I'm very happy
That's
as well.
really great. Let me see it again. Oh, my God. Let's hear it for him. All right. The reception will be later. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do This Week in Tech Sunday. What day is it? It's today, Sunday. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC on twit.tv. We love it if you watch live. We've got a great chat room, and it's a great way to give us some feedback and to tell me when I'm wrong, which I greatly appreciate. By the way, is there a SSD in that ring? A little bit of memory, 512 gigs, just, a little something. Be a good idea.
It's a warp star.
There's some
USB.
laser etch data on the inside.
Is there really?
No.
Oh. Like her DNA?
Right.
Yeah. But if you don't get to watch live, don't worry, because you can download the audio and video after the fact at twit.tv. We make it available in all forms, including soon, when, Chad Johnson? When? HD, 720p.
It's available now. Yeah, 6 months ago. a while back, we had HT. Oops. Other shows are rolling out, though, right now.
What year is it?
Awkward.
I don't watch. You can tell now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye, everybody. And what a great live audience. Wow.
This is amazing.
There's like 8,000 of them.